We are live. This is Friday night, you guys. We are live for Pontificators. We are going to do the show we do every Friday where we talk pop culture to death. We just talk and talk and talk. Usually we try to end it about 2 hours, but it usually ends up going 3 hours. And we're all going to be on our best behavior for at least an hour because we have the living legend Graham Nolan here to hang out with us on a Pontificators show. So, hey, Graham, what's up?
Hey, Art. Good to be here, gang.
Yeah, so
we're happy you came.
Yeah, so just to introduce everybody, we have Todd, Mel Rooney, we have Comic Book Bob, we have Joe, Albino Thunderbuns, Fulton, and we have Chester Cornelius Busby III. And then, of course, myself. So
how do I get a cool name like these guys? I mean,
don't give him too much credit. He's got a Brown education. He couldn't pronounce your book.
What do you mean? Shinnou. I pronounce it just perfectly.
It's not even right.
I gave you a half a dozen pronunciations for it.
You went to Brown? My mental challenge.
I didn't say that. Oh, damn. I should have never mentioned it, Art.
Well, we should actually get it from the horse's mouth. Not that Graham is a horse, but how do you say it, Graham?
I'm a jackass sometimes, but
but you're good company.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How do you say the title of your book?
Oh, Shinnou.
So you're wrong, Chester.
Thank you.
No, you said cha. You said the cha sound. It's Shinnou.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Well, that's the way I say it. However you say it, I don't care.
That's good enough.
The chud.
Yeah.
The chud. No chud. So if you guys don't know, if you've been living under a rock, Graham Nolan is a comic book veteran. We're going to get into his backstory so you'll have a point of reference. And he has a new Indiegogo called Shinnou.
Nice.
I looked at Chester before I said it. And he's heating it up. He's got, what do you have, like a week away? No, you almost have
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. So you're about halfway?
Mm-hmm.
And he's heating it up, and it's doing really, really well. But I think just in case, like I said, anybody's living under a rock, we should get your backstory and see what you're all about so people that may not know will find out. So... yeah, your whole history here. Let's go.
Oh, Lord. You want me to tell it?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Bob, you want to tell it?
He was born on this day.
There's only one thing to say. He did Hawkworld, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
That was my one of my first big projects, because it got started as a #1. But I mean, most people know me from my long run on Detective Comics, illustrating Batman, doing most of the Nightfall stuff, and being the designer and co-creator of Bane.
And that was with Chuck Dixon, right? As the writer?
Yep. Yeah, Chuck and I did the Vengeance of Bane in 1990. I think 3 it came out, but I think I was working on it in 92.
So how long have you been working in the industry?
35 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I tell everybody. I tell everybody 35 years, but it's really like 37 because I put 2 years in the independents before I broke in at Marvel and DC. So 35 years Marvel DC, but 2 years prior. Yeah. So where exactly?
Yeah. So let's see. Actually, it was 1983 was my first sale.
Okay.
So what would that be? That's 30. It's 38 years, right?
So you followed Aparo, right? Jim Aparo.
Nobody followed Jim Aparo.
Well, he had a long run, and then you had a nice long run right after.
Yeah. Jim and I, he worked on Batman while I was working on Detective.
Okay, we have to get down to it, okay? Who's the better Batman artist, Jim Aparo or Neil Adams?
Neil Adams was the innovator, but Jim Aparo was the better storyteller.
Yes! I agree. Yeah, Jim's stories, man. He did, remember Adventures? He did a Spectre run on Adventure Comics. Oh my
yeah,
god.
Adventure Comics, yeah.
Amazing.
He was at his peak then when he was doing that with Michael Fleischer. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, penciling and inking his own work, man.
And lettering.
Was he lettering too?
Oh, he lettered his own work too.
Yeah.
Was that Fleischer related to Max Fleischer?
No,
Oh, okay.
that was Michael Fleischer.
So
He wrote some
between-
encyclopedias, the Encyclopedia of the DC. They
Oh.
did a Batman, a Superman, and a Wonder Woman
Yeah,
back in the late 70s.
Yeah, no, those are cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And Michael Fleischer used to write stuff for DC back then too, back in the early 70s.
Okay, so then you figured it out. It's 38 years because I started, I think my first DC book was in 93, 94 as well. So is that 38 years? 93?
Art doesn't want to count the years he was drawing smut. So
No,
I do a lot of smut.
no, that's 20. Let's see.
That's
So if it was
37.
93, is 2003, 2013. Yeah, so that's 27 years.
37 years.
27.
No. 93 to 28.
83. Oh no, I'm sorry. I meant 83. That's
Oh,
I
oh,
was gonna say, what were you doing between that? I think you had like a 10-year stint of nothing.
yeah. I forget
he went back to smut.
yeah, because the smut, and the drugs and the alcohol.
Yeah, that's right.
Graham was saying before we even started, he was like, "Yeah, we met," and I was like, "We did." He goes, "Yeah, in Chicago," and I said, "I don't ever remember even being in Chicago."
That happens.
Yeah, Gary Ordway introduced us, so that sounds about right.
yeah, yeah. If I remember right, you were buzzing pretty good. So
I used to. Oh my gosh, it was hard for me to get back to the hotel room a lot of nights. Yeah. So
Art had
Just
Purple
those
Haze
women
playing.
clinging on him is what it was.
He had Purple Haze playing in his head for 20 years. So
it's always playing in my head. Okay, so I have to ask you. Okay, so, since you brought up Bane and your detective run, which was brilliant, that stuff is great. What led up to the creation of Bane? Because there's a lot of people that probably want to know behind the scenes, including me.
well, Bane was story driven because Denny wanted to do a story. He was getting a lot of flack from fans because at the time the Wolverine and the Punisher were really big. And fans were saying, you know what? Batman needs to start killing his villains the same way these guys did. And then he thought that was a bad idea. And so let's give him a story where we give him a Batman that does that kind of stuff and show them why it's a bad idea. So that was the basic premise of it. Was so we needed to get rid of Batman and install Jean-Paul Vallée, who was Azrael, as this more visceral Batman. And to do that, we needed a character that didn't exist because there was nobody in Batman's rogues gallery that was his physical match and or his mental match.
Right.
There were smart guys, there were strong guys, but there was never that smart, strong guy. So that was the evolution of Bane, was that, creating an evil Doc Savage, somebody that could match Batman toe-to-toe mentally and physically. And then once that was decided, and Chuck had come up with the idea of that he'd be born into the prison term of his father in this little podunk Banana Republic country. When it came to the design, I had aspects I had to incorporate because we needed a delivery device for the Venom. And as far as a costume goes, I started to think about, well, what would this guy be exposed to if he's lived his entire life in a prison? If he's going to see anything, where would it come from? And it came, and my idea was it came from Mexican luchador. So
he does, because I know that, like, animation wise and even film, there's debate whether he has Hispanic ties or he is Hispanic. So he is
Hispanic.
Yeah, you're absolutely saying he is.
Have you never heard the way he talks, Art?
Yeah, I actually had a question for you about Bane, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because if you read the comic book, you get everything you just said. He's very, very smart. and he's also this physical presence, right? But if you watch all the animation and all the stuff and the video games and everything, he comes across as this dumb, brutish dullard, and therefore most people have no clue that he's actually a freaking criminal genius.
Correct.
Why do you think that happened?
Because he's big.
I can tell you that right now. It's because of Batman, Batman and Robin. They dumbed him down in the movie.
Horribly so.
Yeah, that was the first degradation of the character. But prior to that, they did him in Batman the Animated Series, and they nailed him there. I mean, they gave him a complete luchador look, and they actually gave him the original design of the mask that I had done, because I had a true luchador mask where his eyes, his nose, and his mouth were exposed. Because if you ever wore a Halloween mask, it gets sweaty and stinky, and there's no way this guy's going to be able to fight with that kind of thing on. Plus, as an artist, I felt that maybe by exposing that stuff, it would be easy for me to draw him emoting. But DC made a decision editorially to close up the mask and give him more of that Mysterioso look. And quite honestly, I think it was probably a good decision, But when I got to do Bane a couple of years ago, again, Chuck and I revisited the character for Bane Conquest. I kind of melded the two aspects of the mask that I liked. I liked the eyes being covered, but I liked the mouth and the nose being exposed. So I drew it that way for that series.
Yeah,
I don't think the fans like it.
I like that design. Yeah, it was good.
What did you think about the design they did for him in Dark Knight Return on Dark Knight Rises?
Ugh.
It's a nice design.
And you know what? People make fun of Batman and Robin's Bane, but if you really analyze the Dark Knight Returns, it's the same character. He might come off as smarter, but he's still a patsy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At the end.
He's a patsy. Instead of this tactician.
Yeah, that was the big issue I had with that movie.
Yeah.
Actually, they did a run with Bane recently. Out of the past couple of years, it was really good.
Oh, you talking about the Conquest? That was Graham.
Oh, that was you.
Conquest? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
you call yourself a comic fan?
Claps. I don't read names. God, what the hell do you think I am? That was really well done, dude. That was excellent.
If we're talking about the same storyline, because at the same time, I believe Tom King had a storyline.
We don't talk about Tom King here.
Okay. Well, then you definitely had it right. Every time I saw something from that run, it was like, Bane is sitting around naked, and it's like, what the hell is this? It's like a therapy session instead of the story about, this great genius.
I had a dream about a tree last night. What do you think it means?
I like that they brought the Bane legacy even into Batman Beyond with the Venom and all that stuff, and how he was still affecting the future of the Batman universe. I thought that was a nice nod to what you guys had done in the past. Legendary. I do have to ask you though, since I am a creator and I have gotten some of those sweet royalties for creating characters and stuff when they're adapted to film. So that Batman Bane check, pretty sweet, right?
Well, it was. You know what? The Batman and Robin one was surprisingly better.
Really? Okay.
And and as a result, I had to politely ask DC to reconsider, if you will.
Really?
Wow.
With a lawyer,
Yeah, there may have been some of that involved too.
Yeah. I don't blame you, man. That character is extremely popular, and man, I mean, just to have created, co-created something that is such a part of the Batman mythology. I'll tell you, man, if I had that in my whatever
repertoire,
lexicon.
I would just feel like I've accomplished everything. I'd retire. I would just walk away.
Yeah.
You know what? There's nothing else.
I'll get those royalty checks higher than I will.
Yeah.
There really hasn't been a beat in Batman regardless of what book it's been in, that was like the breaking of Batman's back. There hasn't been a beat. You know what I mean? The wedding was a really farce kind of thing.
Yeah, and like about the closest thing I could think of would be Hush, but that doesn't come close to it either.
Well, Batman, I don't think I think Bane's probably the last really great Batman villain created. I think that the Court of Owls was interesting, but it wasn't like a single villain. It was more of an idea, a group. But I think as far as an actual rogues gallery villain, Bane was really the last superior,
the last great one, and the longevity of it is proof of just how good it was.
And before that, it was Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 20 some odd years between, and then before Ra's, it was all the classic characters from the TV series. There was nothing in between there. So that's kind of cool.
It's common knowledge to everybody, but Batman is by far my favorite character. And the reason I'm drawing comics right now is because of Batman. It's single-handedly, it was all Batman. And I
think that's the same for me.
Yeah. So I remember like always, whenever I'd go to New York, I'd bring in Batman samples and go, Denny, am I ready? Am I ready? And Denny would go, get out of my office. And for decades, man, I was like, Denny, never, ever. And so I've had like little runs here and there with the Batman character, but never, anything on like detective or any significant runs. I think the best I ever did was a couple years back with Aaron Lopresti. I did a small run on Detective Comics, and trust me, there's pages there that I'm never going to sell just because, it was a dream come true.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So speaking of which, I mean, considering that you co-created Bane like that, was there every another character that was like you thought could have reached that same level that you never got a chance to like put into play? Or
good question.
Well, I mean, reach that level, that's not even something that we thought of when we did Bane. I mean, every creator hopes that the zeitgeist is there and that you're going to create something that's going to become, part of pop culture. And I think you think that with everything you create, at least you hope for it, but you know that it's not going to happen because it just, if it did, then everybody could do it. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's being in the right place at the right time. There's so many X factors that go into creating something that actually has any lasting appeal. And Bane, we knew was going to be popular from the point of view of the story we were doing with him, which was Nightfall. The fact that he ended up having legs afterwards was the surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, because there was a gap after Nightfall and after the animated series. And then the next time we saw him was that really bloated Batman and Robin version. And then nothing. Bane was sort of on the back burner for everything. And then they stuck him in the video game Gotham Arkham Asylum.
Arkham Asylum.
Yeah. Arkham Asylum. And exposed an entire new generation, because almost 20 years had passed by that point. That's a generation. Mm-hmm. This new generation of gamers are introduced to Bane, even though they might not even read the comics. And at that point, that's when it became meteoric. And he really started to become a part of popular culture.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to predict when you're going to find you're going to hit Maxwell's Silver Hammer and get that character that just becomes ingrained into the mythos.
Yeah, and as much as I disliked Dark Knight Rises, I mean everybody's doing impressions of Tom Hardy doing that thing.
Yes,
people see that mask.
My favorite is Trainee Bane. Trainee Bane is the best. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Who might argue?
Yeah.
Well, Graham, when you were coming up with the storylines and everything with Chuck Dixon, did you already have like the finale that Bane was going to break Batman's back? Was that already in the story?
I believe so. Yeah,
so that was
something with the editorial discussions that I think that they had already. That's what they were going to do, was break his back to replace him with Azrael.
Yeah.
Just to prove that point that Batman killing is a bad idea.
That was the basic thrust of the storyline, was to install a Batman that does kill, and then we realize why that's not a good idea, and so then we bring back Bruce Wayne as the real Batman and show what it is that actually makes him heroic. It's not the fact that he kills; it's the fact that he doesn't kill.
Mm-hmm.
Batman. Here's the thing that people forget about Batman post Frank Miller, is that Batman doesn't work out of revenge. He works out of justice. He's over. If you ever read the animated series Bible, and they nailed it, Batman is not obsessed with his parents' death. He's over that, because if he was, he'd be a cripple. He'd be a mental cripple. You can't live your entire life with one defining moment. So that was the aspect which I thought they really nailed really great with Batman, and that he does things out of justice. He wants the justice system. If the Joker is arrested and goes out and kills more people, you can't say that Batman is no good because he didn't kill the Joker and all those deaths are on Batman's hands. The problem is the judicial system. That's what failed, not Batman. Batman keeps going out and gets him and brings him back to jail.
Yeah, right. like the whole idea behind Batman. One of the aspects of it is that he does what he doesn't do. Like you say, doesn't do. He does out of revenge. He does it out of justice. He also does it because he's taking that burden on himself that he's going to do this so that other people don't have to. He's going to try to keep what happened to him from ever happening again. Right. And it goes back to the whole point of the errant knight. Everybody focuses on the dark in the Dark Knight, but nobody's focusing on the night, and that is somebody doing something because it's the right thing to do. It's a cause, and there's honor to that, and that's what makes him heroic. That's what makes him so cool, is because he can die, he can get hurt, he can get killed. He could live. He's got millions of dollars. He could live his life chasing chicks and drinking and having a good old time on his yacht, but he doesn't. He goes out at night to protect everybody else, and that's what makes him a great character.
And also he does it. He's got $1 billion, but he doesn't hire a police force, to go out there like a private police force or anything like that. He does it himself. And I've often said that if Batman only works with Gordon and Batman only works with Gotham PD because he has to work hand in hand with with due process and the judicial system, because he has to show respect for that. Because if he doesn't, then he's above the law, and then he's a completely different character. He's not even Judge Dredd, because Judge Dredd has a badge. He's basically sworn in. He's the Punisher. And I always thought, like, I know this isn't real, but if it was real and you had a character that was completely above the law, and there wasn't, Gordon or people that are on the inside at, in Gotham PD, to vouch for him and basically defend him in the little ways that they do, then Batman wouldn't even be around. Like, they would call, in the National Guard, they would hunt that guy down. Right. Public enemy number one. And the only reason he's not is because he works with the PD, and that enough people, credible people, know that. You know what I mean? They might not openly say it in the press and stuff like that, but they know he is helping. And so they allow it. They turn the other way and they allow it. And that's also a reason why I think it works in Gotham City. And Batman Justice doesn't really work outside of that, is because Gotham is supposedly the worst, city, in the DC universe, as far as crime and things like that. So when your city is that bad, I think the citizens are willing to turn, a blind eye to a certain extent to let these things happen. So I always thought that Batman was a really good balance between, him and Gordon. Like, if there wasn't a Gordon character, I don't think that Batman would be as successful. So I really do think that Gordon is pivotal to the whole story.
Well, yeah, he anchors him in law and order. And they got around that back in the Golden Age, because they actually did a story where people were saying Batman was just a vigilante. And so Commissioner Gordon deputized him and Robin.
Ah, that's interesting.
And they gave him a red phone with a direct contact.
You need to stop right now.
They kept it in an aquarium.
That's why the Nolan movies basically for me work so well, because they brought in that element of Gordon. Because I always thought the original Batman movie, that was the thing that was lacking. Gordon was
A joke.
He was almost like He was almost like Bullock. Or instead of being corrupt, but he was like, he just didn't seem like the police chief of anything, and it just didn't work for me. There was no connection. There was no established relationship. There was no cheeky stuff of, I think I know who you are, but it's all okay with me and all that. It just didn't really work well.
Well, what is the general consensus here? Does everyone like the Nolan films?
I like them. I like them overall. I think they are the best Batman movies made, and they're closest to what he is in the comics. There are elements here and there that I feel like, actually, Mighty Joe actually brings up one that's a little iffy, and that's when he doesn't save Roz, when he's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm not going to save you either. That's a little that's skirting the knife right there a little bit with how Batman would react, but overall, I think they're great films, and with the exceptions of the few things that we've talked about.
Yeah,
interesting. I much prefer the animated series over the Nolan stuff.
Oh, the animated series is never going to be topped.
I like the first Nolan film. I didn't like it too. I thought
they disrespected what Ken Watanabe, man. He should have been Raja Gold. It was wrong, man.
No,
it was a lot. Man. Those movies.
They wanted to put the big name guy in there, and he had a certain set of skills. Guy was big at the time. So,
right.
Well, the thing is, it didn't even fool anybody. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "This is a ruse, man."
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's, But as far as like Batman himself, I think it was about as close as we're going to get from Hollywood.
Probably. Yeah.
But the animated series was, I mean, good God, man. I mean, you're talking about, it's classic and it's never going to be topped.
I love one of the things I do love about all the animated series, not just the one we're talking about, is the fact that they represent Batman properly, because you talk about all his skills, but he's always the smartest guy in the room. I mean, that's a major factor. He knows everything. He's well prepared.
And the few times, and the few times that he's not is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a problem. But I mean, that's in the animated series have shown that a lot more. I think in the Nolan films they showed Bruce Wayne as being very reliant on a lot of people, and I get that because they want to have a cast. I understand the Hollywood touch on it, but I prefer the animated series over those. Which I'm lucky I had kids at the right age, man, because I got to watch them. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing about those Batman films. If you take Batman and you take Lucius Fox and you call Batman James Bond and Lucius Fox Q, it's the same movie. It's a James Bond film. Everything in the plot is solved with technology. There's no detective work, except in the first one. I mean, at least Batman figured out what the toxin was, and he came up with the antidote and all that kind of stuff. But all the other ones, it's all technology driven, and that's one of my biggest beefs is that this is the world's greatest detective, and he can't detect anything.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that they were trying to portray him more as the modern Batman that they have in the comics, and where he has this massive cast of characters, like way too many, like there's way too many who know who Bruce Wayne is. There's way too many. There's way too many people in the Bat family. I mean, we're up to 6 Robins now, and like 5 or 6 different supporting characters. And then the last time they did like the traditional once a year where they do the picture of the Bat family, there's so many damn people, man. It probably took an hour. It took like a month and a half to draw the damn thing. So But yeah, like the animated series, I think it's never going to be topped. I mean, everything down to the fact that they drew it on black paper.
But did they? I didn't even
they actually the cells were actually black, and it was they painted over top of it. It's like that. That's how far they went to try to get that feeling.
I think the best part for me is if you've ever seen those character drawings, they have some Kevin Nolan versions of those animated characters, and holy shit, man, those things still to this day, I can see those in my head. Just amazing takes on all those characters. Yeah, that was a great series. I remember years ago when I think the second Burton film came out, and it was in all places article and TV Guide. And this writer was so in love with the TV show, the animated Batman, that he said Hollywood really needs to get those guys to write these movies. You know what I mean? He employed those guys. And this wasn't from a fan. Like fans say this all the time now, but this was actually a credible, writer for, TV Guide that put his reputation out there and actually said that. And I was really surprised. And it's a true statement to this day. I think it's still that animated series is so much better. Even like Batman Beyond is really well done.
I have a question for Graham. Was there ever any time when you and Chuck were doing your run where you guys disagreed about what Batman would or would not do? Or were you guys pretty much on the same page?
That's a good question.
Chuck kind of relied on me as far as Batman, who he was and what his background was, because I was sort of the Batman historian in the Bat group at that time. If any of the writers had a question about any of Batman's past, I had the answer for them. That kind of stuff. As far as like his motivations and stuff like that, we did have a conversation one time, and I told him my thoughts about why Batman does what he does. And I think it opened his eyes to what makes him tick.
Yeah.
Yes, Art, we know you have a lot of really cool
I know, but Graham doesn't know. This is Michael Keaton's from Batman Returns. This is a movie prop from that movie.
Really?
Yeah, so I got this in the day, and I'm not going to say how, but yeah.
It involves the whiskey.
Yeah, and it cost me quite a bit of money, but the 90s were very good to me, yeah.
A little bit of money.
Is that rubber?
Yeah, it's a rubber, and you can see on the back there's some Velcro where the cake went on. Yeah. So it's not in great shape, but I have been to the Warner Archives, and this one is in better shape than the one they have in the archives. So.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So as much as we could probably sit here and talk about Bane and everything forever, but you got a book out, man.
Yeah. I got it sitting there. You can bring it up if you like, Art.
Yeah, I'm gonna screen share so I can kind of move through it.
Oh yeah, that would be better. Yeah.
Yeah, our idea is you're right. Art is all about the rubber.
Rubber.
My middle canoe.
All right, so this is it, man. This is the whole reason for this show is Graham Nolan's Shinnou. So Ashu. So you want to tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll show the video?
Sure. Well, the video ain't much because it's just basically me talking to people, but be that as it may. The idea of this, first off, I was a monster guy before I was a comic guy.
Monster Island.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I tend to go back to that. Like, I look at the first comics that I bought, and they all had monster themes. It was all like early 70s stuff when they had lifted all the code restrictions. So it'd be like, Spider-Man fighting Morbius and Man-Wolf and Werewolf by Night and all these monster creatures and stuff like that, which is what really, really drew me into comics because I was really into that. And so when I tend to go off on my own, there's always a monster aspect. So I came up with the idea for the Shinnou when I lived just outside of Buffalo, and I was driving right by Lake Erie one winter's day, and there was a storm coming in, and it was very foreboding. The ice was on the lake. It was frozen. It was very dark. And I was thinking to myself, wow, that would be a really, really cool horror setting that is very underused. And so I went to a coffee shop, and I wrote the whole story down. And I knew I wanted to have a monster in it, a creature, and I needed some background on it. So I started looking up myths. Are there any type of ice creatures that existed already? And I came across a Native American legend of the Shinnou. And the Shinnou was once a man who so scarred his soul that he turned into this ice creature. It was usually because he was a cannibal. And so the Shinnou, in my story, I added my own aspects to it, would come off the ice during these great blizzards, that happen every once in 500 years type of thing. And the Shinnou would come off to consume the hearts of men in an attempt to experience the warmth that he no longer could have. So it still ties into his initial sin, which was the cannibalism. And so I came up with the idea of this creature coming off the ice and a bunch of strangers getting holing up in this house while the Shinnou during this blizzard is basically hunting them to eat them. So it's a true horror story with a very claustrophobic feel of terror to it, which I think cool. is really neat.
Is there a reason that you decided to go with the Shinnou instead of the Wintico or the Wendigo, which is more recognizable to people? Or maybe that's why you went with it.
Yeah. I mean, the Wendigo, from what I remember reading about it, was a spirit, whereas this was a man. And I thought that was once a man. And I thought that was kind of a cool take. Plus, the Wendigo name has been used in films and in comics before. The Shinnou was not. So it was basically new territory as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, this looks great.
Sweet.
It does.
Play the video.
Must we?
I will.
Yes, we must. I'm very judgmental too, by the way, Mr. Nolan. Just so you know.
At it, son.
So let it be done.
Comics and monster fans. This is Graham Nolan.
Hey, I'm sitting in the same spot.
You are.
Glad I changed my shirt.
6 end up holding up in a West Side house in Buffalo during the storm of the century, and they're hunted by a creature of Native American myth called the Shinnou. I think the story will really resonate because it taps into some of those primal fears we all have, and that is being hunted for food. I'm really, really happy to bring this Indiegogo campaign because people like you are making a difference. The big two have had a lock on how comics are made for too many years. And now through crowdfunding, creators like me are able to bring the kind of stories that you want to see directly to you. I'm a one-man show here. It's just me and you. You can reach out and contact me if you have questions about this campaign or questions about the story even. I'm the writer, the illustrator, the publisher. I'm running the campaign and the marketing and everything. So as Dutton Peabody said in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, I also sweep the floors. So with your help, we can get this baby off the ground and tell a really, really cool horror tale. So thank you for stopping by. Oh, and by the way, I should mention this, that I'm going to be updating this thing regularly. So every week there's going to be updates of where I'm at in the story. Pages will be posted because, as I said, this is a campaign that's between you and I. And I want that free exchange between us. And I want you to be kept in the loop about how it's progressing and how it's going so that you know and are sure that this project will be completed when it said it's going to be completed, and you can follow along with it. So again, I thank you for checking it out, and I got to get to work. I got a whole story to do and a campaign to run. So thanks again. Bye-bye.
That's awesome, man. And this is not your first rodeo, right? You've done other crowdfunds. Monster Island was a crowdfund, right?
Oh,
Hello?
We lost him. You lost him. Yeah, he ran in shame for some reason.
What did you
It's
do?
definitely Art's fault. Yeah.
Well,
He's probably sitting in the back room.
Yeah.
I
dig it though, man. I think it's
there he is.
I'm a big monster guy right from the beginning, man. So
You're back.
Yeah,
It's Art's fault. It's a conspiracy. He did it.
It was not your fault.
But yeah, I was hooked the minute this thing was about monsters, man. I'm a big monster fan. I love like the Daikaiju and all that stuff. So this looks cool as hell.
Well, what I was saying, Graham, is I was saying this isn't your first rodeo. You've crowdfunded before. Oh, there it is, Monster Island.
There it is, baby. Look at it. Yeah, there it is.
And by the way, I dropped
the version.
I dropped the link of the Monster Island and on at Amazon if you guys want to go and see if you can
look
pick it
at
up.
that, Joe. I'm jealous. God,
that's huge.
This is
one
gigantic.
This is one of my prized comic possessions. It's an artist edition.
Oh,
it's the 20th anniversary.
Oh wow.
Of Monster Island.
God,
wow! Don't drop it. You'll kill yourself, Joe.
Awesome.
And I gotta say that it is one of the things that I have used to introduce my kids to comics.
Awesome.
And being able to show them how comics are made. I'm trying to get to
the layouts and stuff.
Yeah, being able to show them.
Yeah, Monster Island Special Edition, also known as the book that won't fit on a shelf.
And just so, let me get this in the camera. These are limited run, numbered, signed by Graham. And being able to show my kids an 11 by 17 book, which is the same size as the artboard where the illustrations were drawn.
Yeah. Poor Joe, it's so huge.
It's so big, like Joe can't even get off the book.
It's so big.
I'm trying to get you a good panel, and you can actually see how the lettering, you can see where it was pasted on.
Old school.
Old school, that's right. So being able to, kind of teach my kids how comics are made and how they were made when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, like when this book came out, and then being able to teach them how comics are made now has been a real treat for me. So thank you very much, Graham. And like I say, I really love that book.
Well, thank you, Joe. And there's the little backstory behind that is the original Monster Island was created for my kids, because at the time, DC used to send us everything they published, and I'd get these cases every single month of all their comics, and I felt terrible. I couldn't give them Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. My daughters were young at the time. Yep. But when I was a kid, my mom could just go up to the 7-Eleven and pick up Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, never have to worry about it, and just pick them up and give them to me. The only thing she ever worried about was Conan. But she still
worried about Conan.
Yeah. So what I decided to do in 1998 was I wanted to create a story that my daughters could read, that I could give to them to read and enjoy, but I could give it to my friends too that could enjoy it on another level. The same way code films were made back in the 40s, that it was everybody could watch Casablanca. Your kids could watch it and adults could watch it, but it still had themes in there that were clearly adult themes, but they weren't so overtly presented to the viewer that a child, it would just go over their head. It wouldn't be, there's no stop, insert sex scene here, no bad language, all that kind of stuff. And yet they were still very, complex concepts and stuff that were being shown. And that's the kind of thing I wanted to do, was a true all ages story without that pejorative term being applied to it, because you think all ages, it means it's for kids. No, it means it's for all ages.
Yep.
The thing is, we talk about it on Pontificators a lot, where there's a difference between gratuitous and adult. Like, you can have adult themes, and that's fine, but gratuitous isn't automatically adult theme. So just because you put gratuitous, sex or violence or blood or whatever, it doesn't mean it's more adult. And that's one of the things, like when DC did the New 52 and started, like the same thing as what you're talking about. I always thought like they're not so much more adult. Like that's what they're trying to like market more. Like, oh, we're marketing to the adults. But the thing is, they were just more gratuitous. They weren't necessarily thematically more adult. Like I remember reading comics when I was a kid, and they were dealing with adult subjects. They just weren't showing it overtly. All the details, the gory details, as they say. I think that was the biggest difference. And like you said, sometimes if you just make it matter of fact and don't draw too much attention in a gratuitous way, the children are just going to go, oh, okay, no harm, no foul. And on the same level is when you start making comics just for kids, they don't want those either because this feels like pandering,
That's exactly right. They know the difference.
Yeah, they don't want that either. So really, there was a sweet spot when we were growing up. We didn't know it until comics kind of started changing. But there was a sweet spot where they were dealing with adult situations, but, adults could read it and kids could read it and both get something out of it. So before we go off too much, because we go all over the place, I want to go back to your campaign because I wanted to go over the tiers and I wanted to go over more of the detail. Before I guess it's some guy named Fart's fault.
It is. Yeah. But I'd like to make one little interjection with that, if I may, Graham. Sincerely, if you do these type of crowdfunding things again, you should get in touch with us. We have some absolute superstars when it comes to putting together trailers here, dude. And they're all indie guys. They're not. It's not like you're gonna have to pay an arm and a leg either. So we have some really good trailer makers over here. Cool. So just get in touch with Art. We'll put,
definitely.
We'll hook you up, man. We'll hook you up, man. Yeah.
The connections. Yeah, we're all in this together. Yeah. And before we go, how long have you been into the independent crowdfunding circuit? Because I know that there's been a couple books, right? And also one we haven't covered is Expendables. That's right now going strong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the first one that I did was Joe Frankenstein. I crowdfunded. Chuck and I did it. We completely didn't know what the hell we were doing, and it showed with how we ended up ending that one. And then the Monster Island and Return to Monster Island books were crowdfunded by Ominous Press, so they handled that end of it. This is the first one that I'm doing completely on my own, and I've learned a lot from my other experiences. And I'm applying that now. And so far, so good. This campaign is done pretty well for me with just only 10 days, 12 days into it. So I'm very happy.
Yeah. So here's the campaign again. So there's no pages yet, right? So you don't have any interior pages done. So you have concept.
Yep. There's concept stuff, covers. As we hit stretch level goals, I design all that stuff. Like I just put up the trading card today because we hit the stretch goal yesterday.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, the card looks amazing. This is it here, right?
Yeah.
And you're already ahead of the game because you already have all the graphics done.
I did them today. I did that card today.
So Compass Comics is your publishing company? Yeah,
that was the company I originally published Monster Island under in 1998. I created it then.
Very good, very good. And so then we have the featured perk is original art level. So $1,000. Is this an interior? Or is this a cover? Or what?
That is the first drawing of the Shinnou I ever did. The first. It's the concept drawing for the character.
Okay,
that's
so
nice, dude.
It's 8.5 by 11. So is it on board or is it on like a sheet of paper?
It's on a sheet of printer paper or typing paper, whatever we call it these days.
Okay, so it's got marker work on it, and so this is the artwork right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super, man.
That's nice. So the book is 48 pages. It's done in gray tone. Is this like a standalone book, or are you planning on doing more of these?
No, this is standalone. If we hit the 30,000 mark, that stretch goal, I'm going to add more pages because I want to tell the story of the 1977 blizzard when the Shinnou first came. So there'll be extra story content added at that point.
Is this character ever going to be added to Monster Island? Is he going to be shipped off to Monster Island at the end of this story?
No, but there is going to be a reference to Joe Frankenstein in here, though.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Are you considering maybe a crossover or?
No, not a crossover, but I want to lay seeds down of a universe that's unified. Because
that's
both
cool.
these stories take place in Buffalo. This story and Joe Frankenstein as well. The Frankenstein monster and Joe in that original story, he has a lair in the grain elevators, the huge grain elevators that line the canals and on Lake Erie in Buffalo. And so I'm going to have somebody mention something, like when they're talking about the Shinnou, the legend of the Shinnou, they say, well, there's a legend, some monster lives in a grain elevator. It's like, that's nonsense, So just little drops of
kind of a like Stephen King's main
yes,
thing,
yes,
like
exactly.
the Castle Rock thing.
Exactly.
Cool.
That's
Very
cool. That's
Peter
cool.
Samedi is in the chat. Hello, Peter, sir.
Hey, Peter.
What's cool about this is, like you said, this is history. So I'm sure Graham is the same. He feels the same as I do. The first drawing you ever do of your character is sacred. So for him to even put this up as a tier, this is pretty amazing, you guys. You also get the book signed. You get the character sticker, a poster, a head sketch remark in the book, and the original marker drawing. So that is pretty killer. So it's still available, you guys. If you're an original art collector and you want rare stuff, not just like, normal, interior pages, this is the artwork to get. And it looks pretty amazing too.
Sweet. Very
Yeah.
cool.
I love this sticker. I mean, if this campaign failed, I would still make this sticker just so I could have one.
Right. That's cool.
I wanted to kind of make it, because everybody's getting the sticker, right from the first perk is everybody gets a sticker in the book. So I wanted the sticker to kind of reflect the book and the flavor of it, if you will. And I came up with the idea of you're looking out the window and this is what's looking back in. And I don't know. I think that looks scary as shit.
It's a great design.
That would be cool for like a window vinyl. Like you put that on, actually put that on your window.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you, Graham, for me, still to this day, I have these nightmares where I look out the window, I pull the drapes back, and I see something creepy looking back at me.
Right.
So that is definitely a universal fear.
There's something on the wing. There's something on the wing of the plane.
Right, exactly.
I never have nightmares at all. I'm usually chasing the monster with giant axes.
Nice.
So hey, for $10, you can actually buy Graham a beer.
Sweet.
So that's
right.
Cool.
Who doesn't like a beer?
Can it be a cider?
No.
No, yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine then.
Hang your head in shame.
And only God knows he needs one.
For $20, you can buy me one.
Oh, whoa, hold on a second.
What? These are only 10, Bob. You can buy Graham a beer for 10. Yours are 15.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about premium beers here, man. I'm talking about microbrews.
Yeah. If you're paying $15 for a microbrew, dude, you're getting ripped off. You shouldn't be paying more than $6.
Around here, it'd be 8.
I drink with my pinky up.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
is that variant cover, Graham? Is that drawn by you as well?
This is the main cover. The one with the him swiping and the blood.
Right,
That's
but the one below that.
Yeah, the
variant.
one below that is the variant. Yes, and that's drawn by me. It's colored by Greg Wright.
Okay.
Ooh, Greg Wright.
Wow, it's really sad. I can pay $3.50 and get a great microbrew. You guys are getting hammered.
Oh yeah. Well, if you're gonna go get it,
We'll make ours with rice.
Yeah.
Rice brew.
Shut up, Todd.
Jesus.
Have you? Did you ever think about maybe approaching another artist and having them do a cover and have that as something that you could offer? Or
Yeah, maybe when we get up to other stretch levels, I might do that.
So this
Maybe
is
from Art Thibert.
yes. This is the main tier right here. So this is the book, itself, 25 with the sticker. So the main book comes with the sticker, and these are signed. So each one of these books is going to come signed. And you've already said, Graham, that is it going to be a stretch goal, or are you just going to increase the page count later?
It's a stretch goal.
Okay.
At 30,000, more content will be added.
So you heard it here, you guys. If you want more content, let's get this party crazy. Okay, so then the next one, here we go. This is the variant that you guys were talking about. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the same deal. It's got this is the scary one actually, because he's walking towards the house. So that's nice.
You can see the people up in the up in the window too. They're looking out at him.
Ay. That's
yeah,
nice.
you got people saying like a statistical zero said, I grabbed the variant with the poster. Great stuff. He's also saying, make sure to go in demand for another month, Graham. Definitely get some people to get a chance to get to that 30,000, because I really like to see that extra story.
Yeah,
it's going into demand when it's done, but I'd like to hit that before we go into demand. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Graham, I've got a question for you. A lot of creators have been making use of the Indiegogo promotional algorithm, I guess I'll call it, where your last couple days or maybe 24 hours of your campaign, they will promote you more.
Okay.
And so what they're doing is they'll go 30 days, wait until maybe an hour before the campaign is up, and then they'll take advantage of that extra promotion from Indiegogo, and then they'll extend for another 30. And I was wondering if you've thought about doing that, or if you're intending to go in and after your first 30 days are over.
Well, I had never heard of that, to be honest with you. But, keeping a campaign up for 30 days is a lot of work. And I can't see myself having to attend to it for another 30 after this, because I got to get down to actually doing it. So my theory is that it will go into in demand while I begin the actual hard labor of creating the pages for it.
Okay.
Because I'm a deadline guy and always have been, and I've got a delivery date, or a tentative delivery date is all it is, of October. And I'd really like to get this in the hands of the fans in October, so they know I'm as good as my word. And October is going to be a great time to get a horror comic too. I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that I can deliver when I say I will. Obviously, if this thing really, really takes off and we hit other stretch goals, like adding more content, well, I'm going to need more time, and I think that's a good position to be in. So I think they'll understand that, okay, now they're getting more content. It might be later than October, but right now I'm looking for, to hit those marks.
So this one comes with a poster. What size is the poster? It doesn't say here.
Yeah, I haven't determined that yet.
But is it going to be kind of folded inside the book, or does it come separate from the book?
No, it will be in the same package that the book comes in, but it'll be folded.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not going to be like a centerfold stapled into the book.
No.
It's like that. It'll be like
I like centerfolds, though.
Yeah. It'll be like the Jawbreaker poster I got there.
Yeah, who doesn't like a centerfold?
Well, Ezra Miller.
Hey. He's our mascot. Don't you be mean to him.
Well, Booster's not here. I can say whatever I want about him.
That's true. Booster is in love with Ezra, although he's been cheating with him with Henry Cavill. So I don't know.
But yeah, if you do ever get to the point where you're gonna do another stretch goal, man, and you're gonna maybe have an artist who will do like a guest cover or something. Peter Samedi, like I don't know, like I would love to see him do a rendition of this character.
Cool.
Because he's really somebody that does like the monsters, I mean, if you could get like anybody you wanted to do it though, who would it be?
I'd probably get Kelly Jones.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
No BS. I was just thinking about that. I was thinking Kelly Jones, like the Batman Red Rain, and just those Swamp Thing covers that he did.
Yeah. I think Kelly's a friend of mine too. So I mean, and he loves horror. We talk monster movies, so I'm sure he'd be up for it.
That's awesome. And like I said, he's been on my head because I've been studying his stuff lately. But I was just thinking, like, who would be the person that I would have to do like a cover like this? And like Kelly Jones is like the guy, and then so
yeah,
great minds think alike.
So something stuck in my throat there.
So we have the $100, which is the signed comic book. This is level 3. So this is the signed book, the sticker, poster, plus head sketch remark. Is the remark going to be on the cover or in the inside? Where's the remark?
The inside front cover. I'm going to have a white space in there, like above the indicia area, somewhere like that, where I can do drawings for the remark drawings.
Very cool. Yeah, that is awesome. And that's only $100, you guys. That's pretty good. You get the poster as well. So then we have retail level. So this is if you're a retailer and the pandemic hasn't hurt you too bad, and you haven't got a rock thrown or a brick thrown through your window, you might want to get this one. So how many books? This is 5 copies, and these are all signed too. So that's very cool.
Yeah,
and they're non-returnable. And so I imagine this is discount. This is almost like getting 1 book for free, right? Is that how it works?
It's at that level, it's 20% off.
Okay.
So for up to 5 copies, and then up to 10 copies is it's 25% off.
And I would argue, Graham, that with your signature, it's a bigger discount than that.
Well, yeah, because they're getting, it's an extra selling point. But I wanted to make sure, as much as I'm trying to, carve out a niche for myself and my company on an independent road with crowdfunding, I don't think it's an all or nothing deal. I think that the comic book shops, the local comic book shops, are the heart of comic collecting, and because there's a social aspect to it too. And I wanted to have something that supports them. I know a bunch of friends of mine that own stores, and I wanted to have a level there where they could get the product in as well. So, I mean, I'm trying to directly reach my customers, my fans directly with this type of a program, and increase that personal interrelationship between creator and fan, which is what you can't get, at comic shops. But comic shops also offer other aspects. There's a social.
I don't know, Art. I think I'm going to swoon. Comic creators never say that these days.
Well, I do want to ask you this, Graham. Do you have thoughts of making this available to retailers, like through like Diamond or like direct sales to the retailers?
Well, that's what this is. This is direct sales this is directly to the retailer.
Oh, okay, but only through the campaign. And but the good thing is, if you do keep it in demand, then they can order at any time, right?
Correct.
Okay,
I'm not going to offer it through Diamond because it'll cut my margins down, and that's the whole thing that we're all trying to avoid here is let's get directly to the consumer, and cut out all this distributor monopoly.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. But the old business model, with all these like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, was you do that, you generate some funds to basically print the book, and then the expectation was always that you were going to put it out through the conventional ways. But that has changed quite a bit, in the last maybe 10 years. But I just wanted to check just to make sure that that's what you were going to do. I think it's a better business model, and that's the business model I'm using as well.
Yeah, I haven't completely thought it through entirely, but it all depends on the success of this thing. I mean, if I decide I might keep put a much higher print run so that I had stuff, I would have retailers contact me directly.
Yeah,
to purchase it directly through me.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. First question.
Just one question. Just one.
Oh, then I got to think about it. No. Seriously, I would like to have your opinion on something here, because what you're saying, about serving the customers, making your fans happy, et cetera, that's a normal thing. That's how it that's how it is.
Right.
But we've seen an opposite from a lot of creators, not all of them, clearly not all of them, but a lot of creators. I mean, big names, some of them big names that are just absolutely go to hell, consumer. We don't care what you think. Shut up. We don't want you anymore. How in the hell did that happen? Do you think?
I don't have an answer for that. I think it depends on what makes up that creator. Like I said, maybe when the people you're talking about worked for the major companies, they felt the same way, and they treated editors and the people they work for that way. I don't know. I mean, all I know is that I've always been a service guy. I mean, when I go to a restaurant and I get bad service, I'm pissed. I'll take a mediocre meal with great service over a great meal with shitty service.
Sure.
So I work hard with my fans to make sure that they're happy, and that as I said in the movie, contact me if you got a problem. My email is right there. You can talk to me if you have questions. If you just want to shoot the shit, you gotta whatever. I don't care. I want you to be happy with the product, and I'll do what I can to uphold my end of that. Is produce something that's really good and produce it on time. When I say it's going to be on time, because I'm asking you to tie up money that you could use for other things. I mean, in today's economy, I don't think that's a fair thing to have people do. I know some of these campaigns go on for a couple of years and they still haven't gotten the product. It's like, well, you've just tied up all my money, that way. But I want people to know that it's going to come out when I say it's going to come out, and, you'll like it. And if you don't like it, you won't come back the next time. That's part of the contract, but I'll do my best.
Well, thank you very much, sir. We do appreciate that. And my second question is much more lighthearted. Art, could you bring up that picture I'm showing on my share screen? I knew when coming in we were going to talk Batman, obviously.
Well, let's get through the campaign. I want to keep it on the campaign and get all the tiers done, and then we can come back if that's okay.
Sure.
But we have the sketch level here. So this is 200. For is it 9x6 Bristol, and I see only 2 left. How many did you initially offer?
I think there were 20.
Okay, so get on this, you guys. There's only 2 left. And are these just examples, or are these the sketches that they can get?
No, those are examples of head sketches that I'd done for the Monster Island campaign. But that's the level, the quality of the sketches. So they can get an idea what a head sketch looks like.
And they can get any character that they want?
Yep.
Wow.
When the campaign is over, I'll email them directly and say, I'm going to start the head sketches. Who do you want?
Wow, that's killer. That is killer. That Batman one right there, I want it right now. I want that damn thing. Okay, so we have happy hour.
Oh, for $200, Art, that could be yours.
If I had $200, you better believe it, my friend. I would buy it in a heartbeat.
To get that for that Batman mask.
That was in the 90s, man. That's when I had like crazy disposable income. Okay, so we got the happy hour Skype call. So what is this all about?
Oh, I thought this was genius, but nobody seemed to go for it. I thought, in continuing that theme of interrelationships, between the creator and the fan, I was thinking about Art. I was thinking back to those days at the Chicago Con that were in Rosemont, and that hotel was out in the boondocks, and the bar was in the center of the hotel. So no matter what section you were in, everybody had to go through the bar. And so at the end of a convention, you could be sitting next to me, I could be sitting next to a fan, and right behind me would be Stan Lee. I mean, that literally happened at those shows.
Yeah.
So I thought, what a cool idea would be to since there's no conventions going on, maybe do a Skype call. I call it happy hour. I'll get my favorite beverage, you get your favorite beverage, and I'll be like two pals sitting in a pub and talking. You could ask me whatever. I could regale you with stories of the business or whatever. And I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Point of order: do I have to pay $200 for today?
And I should have done that. Damn it!
You know what, Chester? The first one's free, but only for pontificators. Nice. Yeah, only for pontificators. So you guys, this usually costs $200, so you guys are getting this for free. So we should thank Graham right now for coming onto the show.
Now, if somebody does go for this, can they say like, "Hey, I want to have dinner with you virtually? We'll sit down, have a nice dinner, have a nice chat, a couple of drinks."
Keep the dating talk to off air.
I'm just drinking, so
yeah.
Hey, Todd, there's no nudity involved. If that's what you're asking.
No nudity.
Well, you know what, Graham? It's still early. You're only halfway through the campaign. I think somebody's going to want to Skype the hell out of you. So this could still happen. So, oh, wait, what is this? Survival level. Holy shit, this is $5,000. What is this right here?
Well, I had two levels. One was victim level and one was survivor level. The two victim levels have sold out. The victim level was your name and your face in the story, and you end up getting killed by the Shinnou, and I guarantee a really bloody death. Those two sold out. The next level is the survivor level, and you're actually a main character. Your face and your name are used, and all these group of strangers get holed up in this house. You're one of those people that are in the house, so you're going to be in the main part of the storyline through most of the story, and will survive it.
And then you get an 11x17 of all the pages you appear in, or just one?
Just one. I'll either pick one, or you could have your choice, whichever one. I guess I'll just leave it up to them. Whatever one they want will be made into a 11x17 print so that they could frame it.
Wow, that's awesome, man. And you know what? I think just having said what you said out loud, I think you need some more of the ones where you the victim level. You need to get one of those tiers up stat.
There's only so many people I can kill, so I had those two slots. I actually have one more person I could kill.
Dude, you're the writer. You're the writer. You could just have like you go to a diner.
Yeah, just take out the diner. Yeah.
Yeah, there could be an artist, doing a Skype call, and then new comes in and just kills everybody, including the guy that's doing the Skype call, which would be you. It'd be a little caricature.
Oh.
And then you can pay yourself $2,000. That's awesome, man. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? So this could be you.
And the ultimate fan thing, I mean, I know it's expensive, but if this ever got made into a movie or something like that, your character name is most likely going to survive the script because you're one of the main characters in a house. So
that's awesome.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
So have you mentioned any of the stretch goals? Because I don't see any listed here. I know you were saying something about...
You scrolled past them.
Yeah.
They're up a little higher.
Past them?
Yeah, he's got the 25K one is next.
Okay. Where's that? Okay.
It's right at the bottom where it's of the victim level. It's right there.
I don't see it.
No, keep going up further.
Oh, actually go up. Did you?
Is it above the Compass Comics?
No. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, there they are. Okay.
There they are. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so 15 supporters name in the book unlocked. You got that.
Right.
20K. You got the super cool collectible trading card, which looks freaking awesome.
Right.
At 25K, you get the bookmark, so you're pretty close to that. At 30, you get additional content. In the
That's Blizzard. The one I want right there, man.
Yeah. At
the
40,
Blizzard is 77, not the Blizzard is 78.
No,
there wasn't any Blizzard of 78.
Yeah, there was.
In Buffalo?
Oh no, I was talking about New England. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
God damn it, Chester.
Well, yeah, that's the poster, the one that says meat, it's what's for dinner.
That's Pretty cool, man. This looks really amazing, my friend. You're about halfway through. Oh, you just went up, so you got a couple backers as we were talking. So that's really cool. This looks great, and you got 13 days left, so you're just about the halfway point. So you're doing really good, my friend.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, looks great. I'm going to come back now to the stream.
Okay.
So yeah, congratulations on that. And you guys know he's going to deliver. He did Monster Island. He's done this before. He's got. We're still trying to figure out if it's 35 or 37 years in the business. So the guy delivers deadlines. So
never missed a deadline in those years either.
Yeah, you know what? I missed 2, and one was early on, and the other one was because Bobby Chase was being unreasonable. That's a tale for another day.
You know what? Do the $200 Skype and we can talk.
Oh, there you go.
Speaking of meeting deadlines and whatnot, Statistical Zero from the chat says, Graham, you get this fulfilled well enough, and your next one will probably be even bigger because you earn trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's right. That is part of it is building that trust with people here. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that got Monster Island and stuff, but there's a lot of new people that are coming in to this campaign that weren't in the other one, and I need to earn their trust as well.
So I have to ask you, man, because your story is probably similar to mine. I left DC about 2 years ago. I was working on Super Sons, and my intention was to kind of balance the both. But then I realized how much work crowdfunding is, especially when pretty much yourself doing everything.
Right.
So what is your story? Have you just kind of cut yourself off from the mainstream? Are you just going to do crowdfund from here on out? Or what are your plans?
My plans are to just do my own creator-owned projects going forward. Wow. I don't care for the publishing models of Marvel and DC. They've forgotten my phone number a long time ago anyway. But even so, the character sandbox that I played in for 35 years no longer exists. I don't recognize any of these characters. And I certainly don't recognize the way they portray them and what they think is good storytelling.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've decided I'm going to create my own path. I don't need permission to create. I'm a creator. The people that run those companies are, not creators.
Here.
Yeah.
I don't need permission, and the whole aspect of crowdfunding has changed the paradigm of what I call passion comics. It's hard to get passionate about doing the X-Men. Well, it was never a passion of mine, so I could care less. But it's hard to get passionate about doing any of these corporate characters because there's really you don't have a horse in the race anymore. They've lowered page rates. The royalties aren't there, and if they'll kick Jack Kirby to the road when he's no longer of value to them, they'll kick Graham Nolan to the road too. And so it's not the kind of thing that I'm going to put my future into when I can do other things. And quite frankly, I won't be dictated to as to what I can or cannot do. I'll try things and I may fail, but that's on me. But I'm going to try. I'm going to do things. I'm going to do it my way. And if it's successful, great. If it's not, well, then I'll try something else.
Well, I think already your book is successful. I mean, if you look at crowdfund numbers, you're already in the higher percentile as far as crowdfund numbers. I believe you're going to do at least 10 grand more at the very least. So I know you're going to get to that stretch goal of the more pages and all that.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive. And then with Indiegogo and the in-demand store, I think with the campaign I have right now, which is Chrono Mechanics, I think we've almost doubled the numbers in demand from the initial live launch. And the great thing about that, Graham, is I don't know, when you did Monster Island, did you keep it in demand, or did you just do the live campaign?
Well, Monster Island was done on Kickstarter, but then it was ported over into in demand. It's there now, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then you know. Yeah, then you know, because it's really a great thing, because it's all about branding and getting it in front of people in a repetitious way. And I know that you feel the same way. When I first started this, I was thinking, God, Art, you're saying the same thing over and over and over again. And then you realize, well, even if there's one or two people that are in this live stream that haven't heard it, it's them hearing it for the first time. And that's what we have to do. So by having the in-demand shop, you get to keep talking these things up. You know what I mean? And you're going to reach somebody maybe 2 months, 3 months now, down the line, that didn't remember the initial launch. They didn't remember any of that stuff or even know that it was there. But they're getting it for the first time now. And just know this is, I screwed up, but we didn't know. Because I'm hanging out with the Comicsgate guys. I'm sure you know what that's all about. And so one of the things I did with Black and White is I shut it down kind of early in demand. And what I found out is because Antonio Bryce, actually, we were kind of running, his book was Brand. We were running, our campaigns were running almost exactly parallel. You know what I mean? He'd go up, we'd go up. We launched them about the same time. So I thought, in good faith, to show my backers that I was getting closer to fulfillment, that I would shut the campaign down. And so Antonio didn't. And so he ended up, within a month, he generated another 10 grand of sales. Wow. And so while that was going on, a whole new group of people started going, Black and White, what's that all about? What's that all about? How can I get that book? And I go, well, you can't. I shut it down. So we're going to do a second launch this month. But if I would have kept it open, you know what I mean? I could have just directed them right to there. Right. Going. And so the advice is, I'm sure you already know this, or you've heard people talk about this, is when you go into fulfillment of your new book, keep that in-demand store open, because it will feed, man, because people will start getting their books, and then people start posting their books, and it really does work.
That's a good point. Yeah. Word of mouth.
And like Simeon 7 said in the chat here, when people start seeing those books being shared on social media saying, look what I got, other people are going to say, there's I want that.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's also comparing him to Olivia Newton-John, which is completely unfair, I must say.
Have you seen her lately?
Dude, shut up.
She's a pretty lady.
She's a pretty lady.
Hey, she's a lady.
She is a lady. She's a pruny. She's a pruny lady.
She's a grandma.
She's a pruny lady. So, Graham, is there anything else you wanted to add? I don't want it to seem like I'm kicking you out, but I did say an hour, and we're a little bit over that.
I did have my other question, Art.
Oh yeah. God, here we go.
No,
it's a good one.
I'm warming my hand up. Just go ahead.
He doesn't have yellow fever.
Shut up! All right, here we go. No, this yoga pants, Todd. Yoga pants. All right. No, Graham. I have a serious question. One of my favorite books of the late '80s, early '90s was Hawk World. I loved it. We're actually on Thanagar. I love the whole thing. And you did quite a few of those, man. And I'm curious, how did you get involved with that? Because to be honest, it's one of my favorite books.
I had worked with Tim Truman. I was part of his Four Winds group. That's where I met Chuck Dixon, too. It was Tim, Chuck, Bo Smith, me, Flint Henry. Who else? There's a bunch of guys. Tim. Oh, my God, I can't remember his name now. John K. Snyder III. All of us were part of that kind of publishing arm that Tim ran. And then when he ended up doing that, the Prestige book with Alcatina, for Hawkworld, and they were going to do a regular series, Tim had suggested me to do the interior of the new series. Tim was going to write it with John Ostrander, but he didn't want to draw it. So that's how I ended up getting that gig.
So was that
cool,
dude? You guys all worked together, or was it just a publishing? Like you all just worked under the aegis of the publishing company?
Yeah, well, it was more like a packaging company because all the work was being done for Eclipse Comics. So Tim and Chuck had formed that company, and they were packaging product, for Eclipse.
Was that Grimjack? That was Tim's book, right? Grimjack.
That was John Ostrander.
Yeah, it was John Ostrander. But that wasn't Eclipse, though, was it?
I thought it was. Was it first then?
I was thinking first, yeah, because Ostrander's a Chicago guy, and wasn't.
First was Chicago, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking Grimjack was First Comics.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Thank you.
So did that Hawkworld do well for you? I assume yes.
It did. I mean, that #1, they did the gold leaf on the logo and everything, and that was a nice royalty check.
Oh, yeah. Right. I have that one. Yeah.
Because I penciled and inked it too, so I got both royalties.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's weird. Like Hawkman's one of those characters. I love that character. But it seems like it runs cold way more than it runs hot. Like there's more like failed attempts at that character at DC than there are success stories. So I always like when there is a success story, because we did the Hawkman New 52, and it was Joe Bennett and myself, and we were killing it. And then Liefeld came in with Mark Polton and started writing some bombastic stuff, things that Joe draws extremely well. And we were doing huge double-page spreads, and oh man, it was a gorgeous book. But man, I'll tell you, Hawkman's a hard sell.
Well, the cool thing about the Hawkworld was it is on Thanagar itself, and it's a cop story, right? I mean, It's basically he's a police officer on Thanagar. I loved it.
The Prestige series took place on Thanagar. In the regular series, it was about them coming to Earth.
Yeah.
From Thanagar, but it was heavily influenced by the politics of Thanagar too. Yeah, which was kind of cool.
I always liked him better as the space cop than the immortal Egyptian guy with the metal and all that other stuff. That stuff got a little weird, I thought. I also thought that they already had Dr. Fate, which was already kind of that Egyptian mystic stuff. Yeah, that they didn't need to do that with Hawkman.
Black Adam.
Yeah.
Todd's up here looking like he's looking into the Ark of the Covenant.
I know, dude.
If he was, his face would be melting right now.
Right?
Unless he was worthy.
Ooh. Todd's worthy.
Hey, and you just stroked his ego. Awesome.
We've got a suggestion from the chat for Graham, and I guess it's part suggestion, part question, and that would be, have you thought about overprinting for not only compensating for any possible damages in the printing and shipping process, but then also for offering them on your next campaign for people who find out about it after your campaign is closed?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to definitely overprint because, like I said, I want to have some for retailers if they want to buy bundles. And then, as you said, for my next campaign, it would be a great perk level to have to add to, and also for in demand too.
Yeah, that's always one of the first questions that people on the next book, especially if you deliver the first one like in a really timely and in a good way. The very next thing that happens the next promotion you do is, can we get that first book?
Right. Definitely.
And we've noticed with the last couple of years that there's always going to be some segment who refuse to buy a book by anyone on their first campaign, but as long as they prove they can deliver, then Sure enough, that second one, they're lined up ready to buy.
Interesting.
Yeah, but his first campaign was like 50 years ago.
Mine?
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you've been in the industry. Your name is well known. Did you know that?
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna leave it up to Graham if he wants to hang out for the second half of Pontificators, or if you want to take off. We're good either way, my friend. But I do appreciate you stopping by, and the book does look amazing.
I appreciate that. I really do, guys. And I thank you for having me on. I am gonna split because I want to grab a beer and take a leak. So.
You can do that here.
And not in that order.
Yes.
Sometimes in the same cup.
Oh no! Oh no! Let's not go back to the '80s, shall we?
Because you know, beer is really just a rental.
It's just,
That's true. That's true.
All right, man. Well, it was
Good
great
night.
having you on. Thank you so much, man. And go check out the new book. It looks really, really terrific. So there is a link in the description. So click the link. Go check it out, man.
Thank you guys for having me on, and thanks for everybody that's been chiming in and watching the show. And I really do appreciate it. And hope to talk to you guys again soon.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Take care.
Later.
Have a great night.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Holy shining Jesus monkeys! We just talked to Graham Nolan for an hour and a half.
We have
That's awesome,
this guy
dude.
right here. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Todd.
Yeah,
Very good job.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Round of applause for Todd Mulrooney.
Yeah.
It's funny, Todd, because Graham contacted me. I think he was like, so this is legit, right? You can.
Oh, really?
You guys aren't just screwing with it. Yeah.
Have you had him on your show yet?
Me? No. He was one of the guys I talked to, and he said, I don't have anything to promote, and now he does. So,
Man,
he was
that
always
was cool, dude.
He was always one of those guys that was sort of in the wings that was going to come on Coffee Akihabara with Chester, and he just now has something to promote. So,
Man, that was really cool, and I got to ask my Hawk World question too. I was very happy.
You were kind of geeking out there, man. That was cool.
Well, it's okay, Art. I love you too.
Well, I'm really happy that Graham is running this campaign himself, because when that artist edition of Monster Island that I showed earlier, that was run by Ominous Press on Kickstarter, and man, it's the only thing I've backed on Kickstarter, and they listed that after Jawbreakers got kicked off. And I was just, the whole time that campaign was live, I was just thinking, oh man, I hope they don't kick this campaign, because I really want that book. And when it finished, I was so relieved, but at the same time I said, I don't think I can back anything on Kickstarter again, because that was nerve-wracking, just trying to get to the end of this campaign and make sure that I got what I paid for.
Yeah, they did get rid of that lady though, Joe.
Yeah,
it
going
should be
forward,
That is
it might be very different. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
but
the lady that will not name.
Yeah.
Well, just mean and nasty. And that's kind of the problem. We get a lot of mean, nasty people that do nothing of value at all.
I like that she just unionized, got a bunch of people fired, and then she got fired. You can't write this shit, man.
Well, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
What do you guys want?
I have a question. Remember I brought a Michael Bancroft thing on here once where we showed his video? He's made 3 of them, and man, he picks like the perfect moment. The last one was incredible. Have you guys all seen that? Where Ethan's talking about how the SJW weirdos came into the business and killed it.
Yeah,
and he animates the whole thing. Oh my god, that is amazing. So I just want to give a little shout out to Michael again. Michael, he's the Lucent campaign, which we've looked at. We did a thing where we were looking at other campaigns, and Lucent was one of them. And he had that great shot. It was a cityscape where you could see the character in the building reflection, and then the next page was the character also from sort of a long shot. It was really, really great. So he does these animation things that are awesome. I just want to give him a little shout out.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, that stuff's hilarious. And it's actually their voices. Like he gets the sound bites and puts them right in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. All right. Well, do you guys want to wrap it up, or do you want to get into the DC bailing from Diamond? You want to try to delve into that real quick, or is that too?
Actually, I think we might. Me personally, I'd kind of like want to sit on that to see what Diamond says about it, because it happened just this morning, and we haven't heard them say anything.
Oh,
Diamond. I just read their response.
Wait, where was it? I'm on their Twitter, and I don't see it anywhere.
I found it on CBR.
They issued, they did issue a response very recently.
Oh,
well, now
what was the response?
Well,
just more, it's posturing.
Well, let's back up real quick so they have the story. So the story is this morning, DC Comics pretty much pulled away. I mean, it's been kind of hinted at that they were going to do this, and there was writing on the wall, but now they've officially said that they're pulling from Diamond. So they're not going to be distributed through Diamond anymore, and that's DC Comics. So that's the setup. And so you guys were talking about what Diamond's response was. So what is the response, Joe?
So the response from Steve Geppi, the founder of Diamond and the owner of Geppi Family Enterprises, the parent company of Diamond, he says that they were essentially going back and forth with DC, and that DC had asked for a couple of extensions on their so their contract had expired, and DC had asked for a couple of extensions to continue to do business while they're trying to figure things out, which Geppi says that Diamond granted. And then Diamond asked them, after the latest request for an extension up to today, Geppi says that Diamond started asking them questions, and that DC said they would give them an answer today. And then today, as Geppi says, the only answer they got was DC announcing that they had cut ties with Diamond, and that they would, from today forward, be going with the two new distributors, Lunar and UCS.
Yep.
And then they would go with their books and trade paperbacks. They would be distributed through Penguin Random House, as they had been up to this point. So in the announcement that DC had today, they basically sent this email to retailers saying, hey, if you ordered up to a certain date, you can still get those comics fulfilled through Diamond, but beyond a certain date, they'll no longer be available through Diamond.
Yeah, I think the date was everything for the June 8th.
Yeah, so they had originally said that everything through June 1st, you could get an extension up to June 8th, but then everything ordered beyond the June 8th final order cutoff would no longer be available through Diamond. The stores would have to go through UCS and Lunar. Now,
I think there's a few things that go through June 15th, actually. But
okay. Thanks for
no reason given why DC's doing it, and Geppi doesn't say anything about communications breaking down, or there's really no insight to why this happened, right?
Well,
officially,
DC's official statement is that they had been analyzing the direct market for quite a while prior to COVID, and then with the breakout of COVID, they said it accelerated what they had been. That some of the conclusions they had been forming was that they would have to take some different directions in their business to try to. They don't say ensure the survivability of DC, but that's basically what it comes down to. They had said that there had been multiple years of flat growth. In other words, stagnation. And so they felt like they had to go a different direction if they were going to break out of that stagnation.
So DC feels like if they're going to move forward and possibly generate better sales, that it's better to do it on their own than with Diamond.
Correct.
Yeah, and also
you know what happened.
I think it's also that DC's looking at changing their distribution model. They're like you were saying, Art, that they may be moving away from putting out so many monthlies and start moving more into trades.
Yep.
Well,
the
you
thing.
know what
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no. I just what I think happened was AT&T came in and their bean counters got in there and say, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
Yeah. In a nutshell, I think you're right. The corporate overlords were saying you guys got to start justifying your existence.
Yes.
And so that's what they're doing right now. I wonder if they're going to make any money with this distribution deal. That's the thing that I was thinking. Like, is this going to be a money making operation for DC? Like, are the new distributors going to give them a better deal? Does DC and Warner Brothers own partially these distribution outlets? You know what I mean? Like, is there going to be money generated from just them distributing, or the new company distributing their books?
Well, I can tell you that the two distributors, Lunar and UCS, are not owned in total, and to my knowledge, they're not owned in part by Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Lunar is owned by DCBS, Discount Comic Book Buying Service.
Okay.
And UCS is owned by Midtown Comics.
Yeah.
Now, both of those distributors have been criticized by a number of retailers because they said, well, this is basically anti-competitive because our information is going to be made available to DCBS and Midtown Comics, who are our competitors, and that this isn't right. But what has not always gotten out into the public record very clearly is that both Midtown and DCBS had to form separate companies. So Lunar and UCS are sister companies. It's not that, Midtown and DCBS are actually combing through their competitors' order numbers.
Right.
Of course, a cynic can always say, oh, yeah, well, that's all nice as far as the law is concerned, but come on, we all know what's really going on. All I can say is that if they were to try and pull something shady, they'd be on the hook and they'd be risking their businesses for a whole lot of money. So It wouldn't surprise me if all of this was done on the up and up. Cynics might scoff at that, but with the amount of money that's at stake here, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if these sister companies really are operating independent of anybody who has any connections or ordering authority or pricing authority or anything like that at the two actual retailers.
Well, it has to stay separate as well. I don't know how monopoly laws work, but I'm sure that some of that enters into the equation as well, right?
Yeah, there's definitely some legal stuff that's involved, and both the Midtown and DCBS are big enough companies that they can afford high dollar lawyers to advise them and say, if you don't want to risk any of your considerable business assets, then here's how you need to do it. You got to set up these separate companies and blah, 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 blah. They can go from there.
Yeah, and I have to wonder what kind of deal the DC has made with these guys, because we're not really privy to everything that's going on there.
It's true. And, one of the funny things that has come out of this in my mind is that some of the retailers who were really crying foul at DC pulling away from Diamond, some of those retailers, it's been rumored for a long time that they have cut side deals with Diamond.
Yeah.
And they've got sweetheart deals that have been in place for years, and they can't get that same sort of treatment from DCBS. I'm sorry, from UCS or Lunar.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's also that, like Joe actually mentioned here, that I'm hearing from a couple of different places that the stores that are ordering from those guys like them better than Diamond because their product gets there faster. It's shipped in a better manner, and there's less damage.
That's correct. There have been multiple retailers who have posted pictures online who have said, "Look at this! My shipment from Lunar or my shipment from UCS not only arrives earlier than when Diamond sends it, but the comics arrive in pristine condition. There's nothing missing. There's nothing damaged. There's nothing I have to return." And one of the big problems that multiple shops have reported with Diamond is people. Now, I want to be very clear when I say this. These are shops reporting this. This is the shops asserting what I'm about to say. This is not me or anyone else on this panel asserting this. Shops have said publicly that when they receive their shipments, books are missing, particularly high dollar trades or hardcover, omnibuses, really stuff that they had to invest a lot of money to order. And when the shipment arrives, it's not there. And the way that Diamond had done their packaging in the past, it was very easy for people to just, at the warehouse level, just open it up, take what they want, close it, and then ship it. Mm-hmm. But with DC, I'm trying to remember if it was Lunar or UCS. I want to say it was a Lunar package that I've seen. Multiple shops really praise the way that Lunar was shipping their books. Is that they had a 2-package system where
there was an inner package as well.
And the way they were describing it was that the inner package was it was essentially tamper-proof, and then the outer package was really to protect the inner package. And so here's the trade-off really for comic shops is that it's more expensive for some to receive shipments from Lunar and UCS because of the higher level of service, the better packing. There's more material involved with the 2 boxes, the bubble wrap, and all that. There's also the fact that they're receiving the packages earlier. So if you're a shop and you're receiving your shipment on Saturday with Lunar or UCS versus Monday, which is what you would get from Diamond, unless it was late, which often happens.
Yeah.
It's really a trade-off of, can you afford to pay a little extra to go through Lunar and UCS, and whatever amount that you're saving in your labor or in your returns, your damages, etc., does that offset the extra price? I mean, it's a call that every individual retailer has to make on their own, but for the retailers that I have seen firsthand testimonies from, they seem to like Lunar and UCS.
Yeah.
Well, so, they have to show they're going to do a good job. They're new kids on the block, right?
Right. And like somebody said in the chat, this is going to spill over because of the competition. It's going to spill over into Diamond. Diamond's going to have to step up and answer this.
That's the hopes that's why the monopolies are bad because if there's no competition, there's no reason to change. I want to ask the chat and everybody here, and maybe there is a clear answer, but why do you think the main reason DC did this?
I think they were just reading the room, and I think that, like you said, the bean counters from AT&T came down there, and they don't care about ideology. They don't care about any of those things. They care about the bottom line, and they're looking at how can we build a model for the future where we're not so reliant on this thing, because they saw how the bottom fell out when COVID broke the freaking industry.
So they were probably horrified when they saw what was going on behind the scenes too.
Yeah.
Okay, so like once bit, twice shy. Yeah. They started scrutinizing that maybe Diamond isn't as functional as they thought, and so it's more about cleaning house and trying to get a more functional, competitive business model. So it's not like an overall like, oh, we're going to make, a bunch of more money distributing these books or anything like that, or any other like shakeup, like we're going to get rid of these books or we're going to just distribute to this, this outlet. It's more of just a functionality. It's more like they're more functional. Like these other companies are way more functional, and we're going to use them versus Diamond, which are.
Or it could just be, like we know how corporations are. They look at how can we make the most money right now, and maybe it's not with Diamond,
That's what I'm thinking. Like, do you think there's more money to be made? Like, do you think DC is making more money off these, in this new distribution deal than they would have with Diamond? Do you think the price breakdowns more? Because to me, like, I'm thinking like a corporate guy, like it seems like the only reason I would make these decisions is if it was going to change my bottom line. Like if I could work with somebody who was more functional, I could get the product there maybe faster and in better shape, more accountability, and then 2, save money, then that seems like, that would be like what a corporation or somebody that was, looking at this type of stuff would think was impressive. I don't know why they would have done it.
Well, I also think it depends on what they've decided as far as what they're going to be printing and how they're going to be printing it going forward. If they are going with fewer monthlies and more of the trade market, then it absolutely would be better for them to go with somebody like than for Diamond.
Well, there's one thing that I'm not sure if the average consumer is really thinking about, but I know that some of the retailers are thinking about it, is that DC is taking their marching orders from Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers is taking their marching orders from AT&T. And it wasn't that long ago that AT&T sent out communications to Warner's and all of their other subsidiaries, DC included, and said, you guys need to justify your existence. You have to prove to us that you're worth keeping. And so I believe that DC must have talked to Lunar and UCS or their parent companies before those distributors were created and said, hey, what can you do for us? And we got, what we're seeing now. Now, I did want to point out that in Jeppy's letter to comic shops, he had said that DC went to Jeppy and said, hey, can you offer us better terms? And there was some sort of negotiation that happened.
Well, that was what the extensions were, as they were talking and negotiating their terms.
Right. So my guess is that what probably happened is, ironically, what Jeppy did with DC and Image back in the 90s when Marvel bought Heroes World and Diamond locked up DC and Image with exclusive contracts. My guess is that just as Jeppy was able to offer the best terms back then for exclusive contracts, I think that what has happened now is there was some negotiations back and forth between DC and Diamond and DC and Lunar and UCS, and DC went with the best terms. Like you said, Art, they have to, if we think of DC within the context of they have to justify their existence to ultimately AT&T. And so they're going to do whatever they think they have to do in order to show that they not only should exist now, but that they can build profits going into the future.
Right.
That's critical.
Yeah, let's read this.
Yeah, Peter has a couple of interesting. The one above actually is the start of the conversation.
That's the one I meant to click. I think it's 2 things. DC is either gearing up to dramatically decrease their line or eliminate most of it entirely. People speculated about the floppies, or they're gearing up to expand into other avenues with a consolidated line. which ultimately I'm hoping for. I want so much to get behind this, but I don't see the big picture yet. That's why these conversations are good for me, because then we can kind of speculate and talk about it. Because what I'm really ideally hoping for is that DC with this, because they have Penguin, they have other distribution outlets as well, that maybe that's more mainstream. Maybe that's more, non-direct market stuff, which I'm hoping for, because I do believe that is what this industry needs. We need to stop marketing to ourselves, which it's fun, it's great and all, but it is dying. We need new people coming in. So somebody has to think out of the box and start trying to sell directly to more mainstream outlets, which I think is going to be beneficial in the long run. It might not be financially lucrative at first, but I think as far as just marketing and advertising, it's going to do a great service down the line, because at the very least, it's going to let kids know that these things exist, which they may or may not know at this point. They may not know what a comic book really is, or they just have an abstract of it. This way, they'll actually be able to see it. It's tangible. They can look through it. They can understand it. Whether they buy it or not, then that's something else. But it is a form of advertising, and it does give us a chance to move forward. Otherwise, we're already seeing how fragile the ecosystem is and has been, and it may be the only future. So that's what I'm hoping. I would love for this story to be true.
But I kind of think it. I mean, like I said, everything we're saying is speculation. But
sure, but Bob sent a link to Peter. He might be sitting backstage.
Yeah, just keep an eye out for him to jump back in the back there. Would it be better? Would it be better for them one or the other? Would it be better for if both of those situations came to fruition, where they trim down their monthly line to like the books that they know that really do sell well, and then go into like that different distribution model where they're doing more of the trade stuff and they're reaching out into different areas?
Well, let's get a different point of view. How you doing, Peter?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good. Welcome to Pontificators, man. This is the best show every Friday night.
That's right.
And no one's watching.
Right. You got to show your pretty face, though. That's a rule here.
Oh, that's too bad. It's not pretty tonight.
Oh.
Dude, look around. Look at what you're working with here, man. Come on.
Hey, speak for yourself.
All right.
I do appreciate the hats, though. Those are good-looking hats.
I found the red one. I got it.
Hell yeah.
Can't wait till you get more in stock.
Very soon, yeah.
So, Peter,
what do you think about what's going on, man?
I think it's interesting, to say the least. I think there's going to be a lot of different ramifications that we're going to see across the board. I'm just curious as to how it's all going to play out and exactly what the end game is here, because it is really interesting because of the fact that it speaks volumes in many different ways, and I think it also says a lot. It could say a lot anyway about DC more than even Diamond. So it really is kind of curious as to this whole move and why now and in the way they're doing it, because even right now, I mean, it's not exactly that they can take advantage of a full distribution model going in a different direction with the way the world currently is.
Yeah.
So this kind of seems like a desperate move in a way.
Really? You don't think it's more of a reorganization type of move?
No, I think they're desperate to do something and act quickly.
Yeah,
that was my gut as well, because of what's happening, and I think like the Dan DiDio move and stuff, like these are big, bold moves, and they seem like they're almost designed to impress a corporate overlord. Because the thing is, if these things were in the pipeline, I think we would have seen some of the writing on the wall sooner.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like they got kind of pushed against, in the corner, and now are forced to justify their existence. And they feel like maybe there's just not enough time to do it in a subtle or in a tiered way over, quarters or the year. That they're more like we need to shake it up right now. Like we need to do something bold. So I'm hoping against that, because I'd like to think that this was more by design and it's more because they want to expand the market versus just try to justify an existence to a corporate overlord. But
well, we know that they did cut down roughly 20% of their line several months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And recent information has come out that they have canceled a lot of stuff that they had planned for later in 2020.
Yeah.
So I do believe, as Pete said, that this is more of a desperate refocusing on what they should be doing that can turn a profit, and essentially letting go of whatever else they had in the pipeline. Because the way that giant corporations work, not only from working in one for a very long time, but also having to observe the competition and so forth, I can tell you that when a big corporation gives ultimatums like this to subsidiaries or to large divisions, they almost always will have a future date where they say, you need to show us by such and such a date that you're worth keeping around. And so my guess is that what has happened with DC is that they probably were offered or given some type of future date and said, you have to meet certain benchmarks by that date. My guess is that they looked at what they had on the table and then made drastic changes in order to try to meet whatever ultimatum or benchmarks they were given.
Well, especially too right now. I mean, there's no way if I'm DC that I feel comfortable releasing a really big event or a big important release. We're not going to maximize our footprint, not in any stretch of the imagination. And I'd also, if I was AT&T, I'd look at that and go, why the heck are these comics not everywhere?
Yeah.
And go down to the nitty gritty of, well, Diamond, we depend on Diamond. And they're only going to get it into certain stores. They're not going to get them into chain stores. They don't want to deal with it. Even when I posed the question to Steve and Josh when they were on Billy Tucci's channel, and I said, well, they were wondering about, I don't know if you guys saw it at all, but they were wondering about, okay, how to get comics into more places, or especially in front of more readers who are not familiar with comics, especially kids. And when I had asked about the fact that getting those dollar lines that most of the publishers have, and their response about that, getting those lines into Dollar Tree, Five Below, a bunch of different stores, trying to at least see different avenues. They didn't even know that those lines existed.
Yeah.
They were convinced that they didn't exist, which is insane.
Well, the one thing I took from listening to Jeppy and his son on these live streams is it seems like what Steve and Diamond wants to do is they want to just play the collector angle. Like they just want that kind of high-end collectability kind of, that's it. Like that's all their whole marketing. Because even when they were talking about like, oh, well, we have a future idea, which is going to be like, if you want any vintage comic book that we'll be able to provide it for you. It seems like their interest is more in the collectible aspects of comics versus the universal, accessible, business model. And so, I think we're already speculating that for whatever reason, that DC seems like they are going to pursue, at least we're all hoping, the more universal, get comics in front of a new group of people.
Yeah, they want the top of the pyramid instead of building up the base. And as a distributor, they should be always concerned about building up the base. Let the stores handle that. Let the publishers handle how to actually cater to collectors and to the people that are already there. Right. But as a distributor, their number one goal should be to get their product into as many places as possible.
Yeah, it's very narrow-minded. Yeah, but another thing though, if you keep in mind when you look at corporate restructuring, When the atmosphere that happens inside of that is kind of a kind of this pseudo kumbaya type of feeling, right? Everyone's there's a lot of excitement. There's also fear. There's also panic. But there's a lot of things going on. There's a fresh feeling. It's a effervescence, I think, is the word that happens, and that's what they're going for. And I'm kind of wondering if that is happening in DC with this AT&T takeover. Instead of it being a completely panicked reaction, maybe it's actually that, hey, let's do something great and new. I mean, it could be a positive thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's a great opportunity right now, I think, not necessarily for Diamond, but for retail and for publishers to actually realize and take stock of what's going on, what's not worked in the past, what they can tweak to move forward in the future, how to trim some of the fat that maybe they can get rid of. Stop putting out books that, you're just going to take a piss on someone just because, you want to sell 1,000 copies or something. When you could sell books that are at 50,000, 100,000 copies and consolidate your line. And perhaps, instead of 10 of a certain character or whatever being spread out, you consolidate it into 1 or 2. And all of a sudden now you're selling 300, 400,000 copies of a book.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden that book is huge. And the creative team is huge. And then you can actually they're so scared of creators getting huge.
Yeah.
They're so scared of them getting popular and getting powerful. But the thing is, you want them to be powerful. You want them to be popular. That's going to make you money. And then eventually the next wave comes up and they see that and they go, oh, wow, comics. I got to get into comics. I can make money. I can actually succeed and thrive and not just make, table scraps.
Well, it gives
the more people that see that,
it gives the next generation something to aspire to as well.
Exactly.
So if they go like, well, Todd McFarlane, I want to be the next Todd McFarlane, but if there is no Todd McFarlane, then what do they aspire to? Or if there's no really good selling book, then what is the goal? The goal is just the status quo. The goal is just
imagine the industries of movies, music, and athletics, sports, without any stars.
Yeah.
What's the point of that? You're not going to get butts in the seats. You're not going to get people wanting to pay top dollar. And the comic industry, the comic industry is scared to death of actually having legitimate stars again. Yeah. Well, they think they're all going to band together and form Image, 2.0, 3.0, whatever it is. And it's so dumb because look at why Image got formed and then start going, you know what, there's ways to avoid that. But even then, I mean, who cares if they go off and do creator-owned things? Who cares? There's a next wave coming in.
Right. Yeah. My favorite is when I would talk when I'm still at DC, and I'd say, isn't it funny that the guy that was there at Image Comics, Jim Lee, is the guy that's kind of making sure that none of us are superstars again. The only one he plays nice with are the ones he has to. It's like Greg Capullo, because you can't dictate those terms to Greg Capullo. So you can go, you got Batman for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? So then he can do that. But nobody else, there was maybe a handful of people, but not a lot of people got that kind of treatment. And I do think you're right. And it is the general consensus within professionals that you get a stint on a book. You get 3 issues, you get 4 issues, you get whatever. And then they take you off and they move you to the next book. And if you're lucky to get a next book, and that way it puts all the control and all the power in the publisher's hands. But I completely agree with you, Pete, as well. Like if there's no superstar talent, there's no Tom Cruise, there's no Sylvester Stallone or Arnold, then you don't really have a sellability. It's just based on the IP. I understood why Marvel did it, because Marvel's kind of like Disney, where it's about the brand. It's about the brand. So it was almost like a battle of ideology. Like Spider-Man's more important than Todd McFarlane. So I kind of understood that, at least from that point of view. The thing I don't understand is like what DC's doing, where they are purposely trying to keep the artists down at their own. It's going to cost them, sales. It's actually at their own detriment.
I think there's like, we were actually talking about this on the Wrestling Council about why the WWE has been in decline, and it's because they've decided that they want the brand to be the superstar. They don't want to build new superstars that will bring those people there. They want the brand to be the superstar. And I think that's the same thing that's going on with DC and Marvel. They want the brand to be the big thing. They don't want everybody talking about, the Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, and Dave Fitch, those people. They want the brand to be the superstar.
Well, that's Agreed. Inside, when those superstars, you know what you get, Art? You get polka music. And nobody wants that.
Well, Marvel has had that explicit attitude since the crash in the 90s.
Right.
And you talk to people who have worked for Marvel, and they are, they're almost shell-shocked when they find out what it's like to work in there, because a lot of the justification for underpaying people is, well, you're working for Marvel. You should be happy that you're working for Marvel.
Superstar.
Yeah.
And they expect the brand to justify their many, many shortcomings.
Spider-Man, shouldn't that be enough?
I've got a question for Pete that relates to this DC announcement. And it has to do with the Penguin Random House book distribution that DC has. So, Pete, I know that you had Alterna graphic novels in different bookstores for a number of years. And you have said multiple times in live streams how difficult it was to get any sort of accountability on the bookstore side for sales data, and how are the books being presented, or how are the people in the store speaking with customers about selling the books and that sort of thing. Have I summarized that accurately?
In a way, yeah. That was a little bit more towards having our books on newsstand, the comics. The graphic novels, though, it's a whole different problem. It is kind of the same thing, though. Okay, but it's extremely pay to play. I mean, you can't even have a book that's a planogram to be front facing without paying for that placement.
So, wow. So my question to you then, as far as DC goes, is, as a publisher, what do you think they're thinking about having more of a higher percentage of their graphic novels, trade paperbacks, hardcover collections going to bookstores, which have been in big trouble for many years financially, versus having some of those going to comic shops?
I think if they're going to go through, I mean, this is something that I think drove a lot of retailers nuts too. It always kind of made me confused. With Diamond doing both distribution through Diamond Bookshelf and then also to comic shops with graphic novels. With Bookshelf, they had returnability options, but with Diamond Comics distributors, they didn't. So if they ordered the graphic novels through there, like Diamond wouldn't take us on Diamond Bookshelf, even though for 10 years, that's all we sold was graphic novels. And we had ones that a film was based on. We had ones that were skyrocketing because they were a New York Times bestseller. We had one that was Metaphase that featured the first superhero that has Down syndrome, made by a father who had a child with Down syndrome. And this was back in 2015. And it blew up and got national press coverage. He got an interview on NBC Nightly News and everything. Diamond didn't give a shit to actually restock that book at the time, even though I told them.
Wow.
I said, we're going to have NBC Nightly News covering this book. We're going back to print with it. Do you guys want to actually gear up and help us promote this and stock this important book? That's a really good book, too. And nope, they didn't want to do it. And
wow, dude.
Yeah. So
no, I actually think I remember that news story, actually.
Yeah. And I had shops emailing me that they were actually kind of upset with us. And I said, don't worry, we'll take care of you direct if you want to order direct. So a bunch of them did. But they were confused because they thought that we didn't want the books through Diamond. And I was like, no. Diamond doesn't want us to send them the books. So it's an incredibly backward system now with the whole distribution of the graphic novels and everything like that into bookstores. That presents a whole other hurdle because, I mean, Barnes & Noble, I think they've had either 5 or 6 CEOs in as many years.
Yeah.
And each of them has, their stock is practically worthless. They've been sold to a hedge fund, which is basically more like a vulture fund. They're kind of building them up right now so they can sweep the leg later on and sell them for high and leave everybody, in the dust. That's kind of what their MO is, the fund that bought them out. So I don't see Barnes & Noble lasting past like 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
If that. They've already started to close a bunch of stores because of COVID. That's kind of accelerated everything. And they're dumping in millions of dollars every week into renovating the stores that they have left, trying to kind of figure out how to maximize their floor space. And also trying to figure out how to integrate more things that make them money, like cafes and all this other kind of stuff. That's not really books. It's not merchandise like that.
Stocking all kinds of stuff that have nothing to do with books.
Yeah. And then with Baker and Taylor pulling out of the retail space and just wanting to service libraries, which also are unlimited budgets, it's kind of a weird strategy to go, just kind of all in on the graphic novel route, which is why Alterna, we went completely opposite back in 2016. I figured, we got to do something. We got to get books out there that aren't graphic novels because the market's so flooded. When we started doing that in 2008, everyone thought we were kind of crazy and it didn't make any sense to put up just graphic novels. What are you doing? And then everyone's putting out graphic novels like crazy by 2015, 2016, and everything with the single issues written towards the trade. And then everybody caught on to that, and then they start trade waiting. And then, the single issue sales suffer from it. It's just, comics is notorious for when something works, they double, triple, quadruple down until the overexposure kills them. They don't pull out when it's time, and they leave it there. And then all of a sudden it turns into a big flop and no one cares anymore.
Peter, you're definitely one of us. Art, can we replace Todd with Pete, please?
Oh, no.
But, I'm really interested to see what the details of their deal with these other two companies are versus what they had with Diamond, what is going forward, and why they made this decision, and what happens to their distribution after this, because I really do think that they are going to start trimming their line down. And
they have to.
They have to. I mean, I don't think that they can. I think AT&T came in and said, all these vanity projects have to go, and the stuff that sells, that's what we're going to focus on, and we're going to push into these different areas because, like Joe said, they have to justify their existence.
Yeah, I hope Marvel follows suit. And the only reason they did that is because Marvel, the only way they felt that they can make more money is to get more of the pie. So they just kept saturating the market with new titles. And then the only way DC could compete is to do the same. So then you have a bunch of titles going out, trying to get a bigger part of the pie, but never expanding the pie and just eventually burning out. And I think what Peter said is completely right. What the industry does is it's always either or. They find one thing and then they play it to death. Like nobody thinks like, well, maybe this should be a multi-prong. Maybe we should pursue, mainstream retails, like Target and these more, mom and pop shops and stuff. And still maybe make a more collectible that goes to, the direct market. And then maybe, like just do a bunch of things at one time. Instead, like even when DC did the New 52, they were like, well, we're going to be all in on digital. And then they went in for like 6 months and then they abandoned it. So that's another thing is they get these business models, they get these plans, and then they never go, well, it's going to be long term. It's going to be 5 years. It's going to be 3 to 5 years. They go, well, we'll give it 2 months. And then if it doesn't start bearing fruit, then we're going to bail out of it. Well, this industry is in such dire straits. It's going to take more than 3 months or 2 years to start with, trying to re-educate an entire population that comics are cool and that you have access to them without going to, a direct retailer, comic shop. And I think that that we need an overview. We need leadership, and we need an overview where somebody can come up with a business model that is multi-tiered and then pursue it over a course of realistic years. And invest X amount of money into the marketing and the selling of these campaigns. But everything is we need it done like this. They make decisions. If it turns around, then they play it to death. And then they have to go to the next thing. And then they play that to death, and then they go to the next thing, not realizing all these things are good ideas, but maybe just don't go all in on this one thing. Maybe when this thing's succeeding, start thinking about going over here, and start diversifying things a little bit more. But the industry doesn't. They only do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
DC did two things that worked really well, and they're in the just last 2 years. Two things. One, the Black Label, which kind of serviced us, right?
Yeah. It's for hardcore fans,
right. Yeah. And then the YA graphic novels like Breaking Glass and stuff, that's working, and it is geared for who it's getting to who they're gearing it for.
Yeah,
and it's in every single library. So those two things were very, probably things that saved their ass and made them think maybe we shouldn't go this other route with the Generation 1 or whatever it was, because you don't hear anything about it. That was already supposed to start to trickle out with a there was an event that was supposed to happen in front of it. That event isn't even happening now.
No, behind the scenes, that 5G stuff has been cut. It's all about death metal now.
That's true. They folded it into that new death metal thing. But I think what's happening here is that the corporate minds have stepped in and said, you know what, this thing has to turn profit, real logistical profit. Especially concerning and comics are not the only business that's in this. Like the whole COVID thing, any business that was kind of on the bubble found themselves in dire straits.
Yeah. So, but in the end, it's going to be a good thing, though, Bob.
It could be a good thing. I think it depends on what they decide to do, and it depends on who they listen to.
Right. Well, look, I think we're in issue anywhere between issue 5 and 7. I don't know if you want to call them issues that have come out of their digital first product. You got there's a Flash book, there's a Swamp Thing book, there's a Wonder Woman book. All those things are on issue 5 somewhere to issue 7, and they'll be able to tell how that model worked out for them.
Yeah.
Because really what it comes down to, when you get good teams and put them together and kind of let them do something that's kind of unique, sometimes magic happens. A lot of people like the Flash book.
Graham Nolan and Chuck Dixon, baby.
Yeah.
One really big thing that we haven't talked about yet, and when Pete comes back, I'll be interested to hear his opinion. But you have Diamond Comics that up until recently was essentially the only distributor of single issue comic books. And then they suddenly get competition with Lunar and UCS. Now we find out today that Diamond, who had to take out loans to reopen their doors and operate again during this COVID pandemic, they were not in good enough financial position to close down and then reopen without the help of loans. Now they just lost their number 2
30% of the market.
Yeah. Well, they might have taken advantage of the climate to go after loans, whether they needed them or not.
Nah, that's a fair point.
Okay.
Well, Disney did that.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, you could argue it either way. So, fair point. But they just lost their second largest customer, who accounts for roughly 30% of the market. Yeah. If comic shops continue to close down at the rate that they have been so far in 2020, that's additional business that Diamond loses.
And they're so big as far as infrastructure to cater to that many. You take away half of that, they implode because they got too many trucks, too many warehouses, too many other things that are going on.
They collapse under their own weight.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is
money to keep themselves afloat.
Exactly. So this is my question to Pete, as a publisher who dealt with Diamond, who's very familiar with the inefficiencies and the problems that retailers and publishers have had for decades with Diamond.
It's a bunch of Italians. What do you expect? I mean,
my question to Pete is, how long do you think, or maybe not even how long, but how many more body blows do you think Diamond can take before they have to do some serious restructuring themselves?
If they haven't already done that by now, it's too late. They should have been doing that, honestly, months before COVID even happened. They should have been doing that back in 2019 based off of the previous years. And maybe they wouldn't be in the situation with DC right now if they were actually taking steps. Maybe if the comeback wasn't just, hey, you tell 5 friends, and then if they tell 5 friends, people will buy comics. That's the whole plan, to tell people promote your book, to tell people promote your local comic shop, to tell comic shops promote your store and comics. That's the whole plan. Something that should have been done anyway. That's insane. That's insane. That should have been an inward campaign. That should have been internal among Diamond to just, psych themselves up. That shouldn't have been something that was outward facing if they actually didn't have an effective strategy to actually, more than selling some T-shirts and then some of the proceeds go to shops. I mean, what did they sell? Like $3,000 worth of shirts, and then like 40% of that, 40% of the profit of the proceed. Not even, I'm not thinking that they're just taking that right off the top.
Right.
However much those shirts cost and everything else, I guarantee they're recouping those costs. So you're talking about maybe $1,000 or less goes divided among shops. What do they all get? Like $1 a piece?
Yeah, it's pennies.
Not even.
It's
pennies.
Crazy. The weirdest thing in the comic industry is the inability to understand that this is all a numbers game. This is all. Who knows about what's going on? Is there awareness here? It's even in crowdfunding. It's all about that too. Any kind of sales, it's all about that. It is about awareness and marketing and everything like that is way more important than even sometimes the quality of the product, as sad as that is. The thing is, what keeps you there is the quality.
No, sure, and we've seen a very good point of that in the past couple of years. We've been doing this indie stuff. We've seen a lot of great projects, wonderful looking things, just tank because they have no marketing. They have no. You got to make money. You have to spend money to make money, right?
Yeah, like Ed Bennis, man. Ed Bennis is one of the top guys, and his crowdfunders barely hit 30K.
Yeah, it's a good point, and we've been screaming about Diamond forever, dude, for a long time.
Yeah. And if they don't have the money to market, you got to put the time. If you could put the time and the money, that's golden. That's great. Yeah. But if you can put the time, and that's a longer way of doing it, but it means a lot more. If these people, whether it's a Diamond or whoever, anyone, any publisher, any retailer, anyone out there, look at what you guys are doing. You guys are also comic creators in your own right too. And you're not just creators, but you're also readers and fans, and you're getting out there. You're talking about comics. You're promoting in a way, no matter what. Even if you're complaining about the industry, you're promoting the industry because you're talking about it out of the love and concern you have.
That's right.
And the fact that people want to squash that conversation, that many have worked so hard to squash that conversation, and that it only has to be in a certain tone. You only have to talk about comic books in a certain way. You can't ever criticize, even if you have constructive criticism, which most of it is. Most of it isn't just, comics, they suck, they're the worst thing ever, and that's it. Most of it is actually, here's some of the plans that we would have. We were doing things. Let's discuss that. How do you feel? How do you feel? Some of these things are going wrong. How do you think we can course correct? And even if there's never in a million years that you can actually have the power to course correct, the fact that we can have those conversations is so important. So if people want to actually drown those conversations out on every single level in comics, we shouldn't be surprised at all if the situation is the way it is right now.
Well, claps for Pete. Claps for Pete.
Yeah, and across the board, it's like even with the pandemic and the riots, if you say like with the pandemic and you say, I just want to get back to work, somehow you're evil. And it's like, well, no, I understand there's a pandemic. I'm not being stupid, but I'm just saying, I think we need to get back to work. That's important as well. Or like in the riots, you say, I don't think it's well, not riots, but the peaceful protest. But then there's this other side, and you go, well, I don't think that throwing bricks through people's walls, windows, and burning people's business down is good. And then all of a sudden, it's like, aren't you pro protesting? Aren't you pro Black Lives Matter or whatever? It's like, no. It's not exclusive. It's not all one thing or all the other. And I think that is kind of like the way, I forget the word for it, but we want everything to fit in this one category. And comics is the same way. Like everything needs to fit into this category, and we can't really expand out of it. That's where I was like, it's either or. There's never like multifaceted ideas that are at play really at one time. And like right now, the only ideas that are coming that are challenging anybody are us right now. Like what Peter was saying is like, we're challenging it. We're trying to come up with a different way of marketing and selling things. I remember when New 52 came out, I thought, I railed against it instantly. We got these memos from DC Comics and they said, feel free to take your book or your whatever you're working on, take it to social media and let people know and be loud and proud about it, right? So then all of us freelancers are like, yeah, we want this stuff and we're doing this. And then the next thing we know, the internet's being the internet and we're getting bad feedback and things are happening real time. And then now DC is telling us how we should interact. You know what I mean? Like how we should interact with people and how we should talk to them. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, that's it. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not really going to promote you guys anymore. I'm going to promote myself. And so that's what it was all about. And then that definitely led up to Comicsgate and everything that I'm doing now. But that's their idea. That was their idea. That was their big marketing plan. They were going to put money into New 50. Well, they did put some money into it, but it was more like really grassroots, like guerrilla marketing. You guys go out and you advertise our books for us. Are we making any more money? Are the books selling any better? Are we getting royalties? Not really. So what do we get out of it? We get to exist another month and get another assignment. That's pretty much all it was.
Well, speaking of marketing, I'd like to ask Pete, as a publisher, did Diamond, I know you guys have had and a lot of the smaller publishers have had a lot of problems with Diamond and not getting good customer service from them. I'm curious, have you or any publishers that you've talked with ever seen anything in recent years which make you think that Diamond has something like an effective marketing department?
Oh, that's a serious question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Not rhetorical. Because I have not seen it, but I'd like to hear from a publisher.
Yeah, I'm in charge of rhetorical around here now, Joe. Don't you step on my toes.
Okay, so if that truly is a question in honesty and good faith, I would have to say that as far as marketing and things like that goes with Diamond, every time I've ever had to try to have a discussion with them about all this stuff, about what are the best practices involved? What should we do? So both of us can succeed more, because it's important to you, Diamond, that all your publishers sell amazingly well.
Yes.
The more money we make, the more money you make, and more money retailers make, the more books get out there. Everything is great. And their answer was always, buy an ad in previews.
Yes, that's what when I was at Image, that's exactly what they'd say. And then even when we had Wizard, That's what they said too. Like, could we do an article? Could we do that? Well, you know what? The best way to do is, take an ad. Yeah.
Always.
Art, can you bring up Pixel Trader's comment, please?
Is it this one?
Yep, that's the one. That is a huge problem, and everyone here has mentioned it. Peter just mentioned a little while ago. But with that being said, I would like to ask the ultimate question of the panel, if I may. What happens if seemingly the inevitable, Diamond folds?
I think you get more companies like these two that step in.
Yeah.
Well, what does Peter have?
I would like to see more publishers become closer to what Alterna is doing, where we're more self-efficient. We can kind of take care of ourselves. We can sell books both to readers, retailers, whoever wants them. We can control our own marketing. We can control our own company. You can't even control your own company when you're a part of something like this with Diamond, because they're not necessarily a distributor. They're kind of the headquarters of all of comics. And but they don't want to act like that. They don't want to take the responsibility for the fact that they're kind of in charge of all the publishers and retailers in a way.
Well,
in a very weird roundabout way.
Not even in a way. Like, they get to say what gets in the distributor catalog and what doesn't. Pure and simple. They become the tastemakers in a big weird way too, because especially that catalog getting into previews is okay. That's great, but guarantee you how you get more traction with Diamond. Pay for those ads, right?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing too, and going back to that also, the ad that they wanted me to purchase was about, I think, $800 at the time. The 3 times that I brought up the conversation, because we've had 10 brand managers in about 10 years. So every single time I thought that the brand manager felt a little bit more like they were on the ball and that they understood where we were coming from, I would then have that talk with them. Because I felt like, why waste my time if I felt like the brand manager really didn't know what they were talking about and really didn't care anyway. But 3 of them, I felt like they really did. And every time it was always about the ads. And they were about $800 to $1,000. And they said, it's estimated it'll get you, 20% more sales. And I said, okay, if we get 20% more sales, we're basically going to be breaking even on that ad. So we're going to be kind of still losing money on books, even though we took that ad out. And the thing is that Diamond makes money off of the ad, and then Diamond makes money off of the books that sell extra, but we don't make any of that money.
Yeah, they also sell the catalog itself.
Yeah, and the ultimate ad was always get a book in Free Comic Book Day. As soon as that came around, it's gambling, because at that point in time, you have to actually solicit every single thing. Everyone's gambling with Free Comic Book Day. You have to solicit the whole book without showing art, cover, anything. It's just whatever the description is. And then the price point you want to sell it to the retailer at. And then Diamond adds 5 cents. And usually you want to go as low as possible to make your book seem more attractive, especially if you're an indie book. So if you go in there and you get a quote from the printer and you think, okay, maybe we'll sell 50,000 units. So 50,000 units, it'll cost X amount. And then, if we want to actually make any kind of money whatsoever on this, we have to charge this. If we want to break even on it, we have to charge that. So let's say you want to charge them 20 cents. Now it's 25 cents to the retailer because Diamond adds that 5 cents. Let's say you don't hit 50,000. You hit 30,000. Now your book costs 40 or 50 cents.
Yeah.
You're taking a 20 or 30 cent hit on 30,000 books, 20,000 books, something like that.
Yeah.
That's enough to put a company completely under that's just starting off. And they won't get up from that. And it's not going to do anything with promotion for a book, because mostly it doesn't matter if all of your books did well on Free Comic Book Day. These are largely people who are not educated on how to pre-order books. No one goes in there going, also, here is a free comic book that instructs you and educates you on what previews is and how to pre-order comics that you get today. So no one knows what to do. So they pick up free books and then that's it. Most of them never go back. So everyone thinks, oh, my book got out there, Free Comic Book Day, it's great. And we were in the event, I think, 3 or 4 times. We didn't notice 1 iota of an increase in sales. All 3 or 4 times, even though tons of people were like, hey, these books are great. I hope the shop gets more of them. That's what it would be. I hope the shop gets more of them. They didn't know that they need
to order. If
exactly
the shop order after that, then it's all pointless.
And that's it.
It's all supposed to be advertising for your product. And if they don't back it up, then it does no good. And I remember like Wizard Comic in the day, and you you want to sell more, and this was in like 94, 95, something like that. And I remember talking to Wizard, Garib, and those guys, and they're like, well, we're really booked up. So about the time that you're going to put out your book, we can't really do an interview. We can't do any of those things. How about an ad? So I remember talking to them about an ad, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm interested. Let's talk. And so they were like, it's X amount. It was like thousands of dollars. It was really expensive for a single page ad.
It's not a $25 Alterna ad.
No, it's not.
And Pete, I would like to thank you very much for running my ad, dude. I appreciate that. That was cool. That was cool.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, so then I start talking business with them. Okay, it's X amount of money. What's your distribution? Oh, our distribution is $500,000 or whatever, because it sold a lot. I go, okay. It sold $500,000. I said, or $1 million or whatever the hell the number was. I said, but that's to the retailers, right? It's like, and then it's like, well, no shit. Like I said, but that's not to individual people. So your numbers are based on just selling to a retailer. That doesn't mean every one of those books is going to get into an individual's hands that's going to see this ad. And he's like, well, no. And I said, so when you throw this number and you say your distribution is this and it's going to hit this many people, then that's not true. And then I said, also at the time, Wizard was a collectible magazine. So people were buying multiple books. So if you think about that, some of these people were buying multiple books. So that could be 2 books that would get into the same person's hands. And then whatever didn't sell just sat in the comic shop, and no one ever got to see the ad. So I was like, these aren't real numbers. You know what I mean? Like these aren't accurate numbers. And I did run one ad, and then, you find out the hard way, right, Pete? Like it's just not a good idea to do. It's better to not run the ad than to run the ad. Wow. The only benefit of it is you kind of get to look like the big shot, right? So if you have an ad, a full page ad in Diamond, it makes you look a little bit more important. So a retailer might go, oh, this is more important because it's a full page ad versus the little corner box that you get. Or if you have an ad in Wizard, then it makes you seem maybe more important, but it doesn't necessarily translate over into sales, of your book. And that's not good.
Yeah, and it's an expensive way to find that out. So it really is. It's gambling, and the same thing with Free Comic Book Day. It's gambling across the board because the publisher gambles, the retailer then gambles. The whole weird secret Free Comic Book Day committee that they don't let anyone know who's on it. That's really weird. Instead of just going, hey, these are all the publishers that came, that sent in their stuff and they want to participate, vote on them, retailers. You guys, send out a big order form, whatever it is, a checklist, anything like that, and they can just go, okay, well, here's the ones that came in, and then here's the ones that got voted, and the last, I don't know, 10, 15 or whatever it is, let's say there's 100 that get submitted, and they only want to take like 75 entries. Right. But at least everyone gets to see these. When we had offered something back in, I don't even know, I think 2017, 2018 at this point, I forget which year it was for. But the price was 14 cents for the book, and then it was 5 cents for Diamond. So it was 19 cents. It was going to be the cheapest non-gold tier offering. It was going to be the cheapest silver tier, which was the books that they don't have to buy. They just shrugged over and passed on it. And when I had wanted to know, well, what had happened? Why? This was going to be a number 0 for a series that did pretty decent, was an all ages series. And a lot of people seemed very interested in it. And they just said, well, sometimes you make it in, sometimes you don't. And that was it. There was no critique of anything. And we didn't send them art. We didn't send them a cover. We didn't send them anything.
Sounds like communism.
It's a very weird system. And, the fact that Free Comic Book Day is so convoluted in a way, I mean, to me, publishers, we all print. I would hope anyway. We all print way more than we need because you're counting on selling, elsewhere. You're selling at conventions. You're selling direct. You're selling reorders. So it doesn't make any sense to me why Free Comic Book Day couldn't just be an overstock liquidation process to just get books to retailers, and then they can just give away whatever is like a year or two old or anything like that. Or even if a retailer just wants to participate and just get rid of whatever they have kicking around.
Yeah.
I've known retailers that got cease and desists for participating in Free Comic Book Day, but not officially. It's insane.
That is weird.
The industry is insane. It's such a weird little, we tell you how high to jump, and then you jump twice that. And if you don't, that's too bad. Too bad. You got a nice store here. You got a nice publishing company here. You just didn't jump as high as we wanted you to.
Yeah, it's cronyism, and that's why I said when AT&T came in, they were probably horrified. Like, what is this?
Yeah,
this
it's backwards. It's completely backwards, and that's why I'm so glad that we're out of it. And as soon as things started happening with the COVID stuff, we were already taking measures to become more independent and getting away from diamond dependency, especially.
But what I thought
forced our hand
is free Comic Book Day. It's not free. Like, the retailers are still paying for those books. Like they're expected to shell out the money for this event, and then give it away to their clientele. And just to back up on like the way a lot of these retail stores would deal with Free Comic Book Day is, I've done. I would do the Free Comic Book Day every year. I would either fly somewhere or I would go to somebody's shop. So I've been doing it, live appearances since they started. And more often than not, I've seen retail stores, what they do is, because they know they're going to get a lot of people, is they just set it up like an assembly line. They have people come in one part, like the back door, and then they go through the store and they have all the comics lined up, and they give you a bag, like a Free Comic Book Day bag, and then you just put the comics in the bag, and then you walk out the front. You don't even really get to look through the shop.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've done only a handful of, like, there are some good retailers out there. Most of them are not business minded, but I've done a few of these where they had my back catalog of comics, and they had
smart
where I was. And so they were sitting there, and so they were suggesting, hey, do you know who this guy is? He did this. And then they would put out the books, and they had them out there. So these were books that they would sell. You know what I mean? So you go through, you get your free comic book, and then if you want to get these other books signed, then you buy one of them and you can get it signed. So if you're in the kind of the moment and you're getting all caught up in all this stuff, then you can do quite well. And I have seen shops do that with several artists. They have like 2 or 3 guys in there, and they have their back catalog. It's like either like what you're saying, Peter, like stuff that they have already had that they can't sell, or they actually specifically order it for the event. And then they start selling this stuff. And you'd be surprised how well it does, because there's people like, where'd you get that? Oh, you got that signed? Oh, that's that X-Men guy or whatever. You know what I mean? And then it just kind of starts feeding on itself.
Yeah.
But these guys...
Well, I'm sorry they treated you like a cheap French whore there, Art. I feel your pain.
Well, you know what? Doing comics for 35 plus years, you pretty much are. I'm a pretty French whore.
Yes, you are.
But I am.
Wonder Beards Entangle.
I always go the wrong way. Yeah.
Pete, I'm gonna apologize for these 2 right now. God, I wish I was drinking right now.
You're not drinking?
Gay talk.
No, I'm dry this month, man. I'm in a fitness challenge with Boogie.
Well,
wow. Well, I got myself a Irish coffee. I'm doing good.
Words because you're tired then, I guess.
He's got to go away to the dodo. Watch out.
But yeah, there's a lot of things that we could do. I think the biggest problem, and I noticed this, and I know Pete, when I say this, Pete's gonna go, yeah. I've run this studio, like Hack Shack Studios, for 30 years, right? And so you get a lot of people in that they just kind of want to be close to comics. Like they don't necessarily want to do what it takes to be an artist. So one of the things is I have assistants come into the studio and work with me, and they get training. They get paid, but they get training. And a lot of like Danny Mickey, Tim Townsend, there's been a lot of talent that I've trained and that's come out of the studio. So, but what happens more often than not, you have people that are fans and they just kind of want to legitimize their fandom. They don't really want to be artists, but they kind of want to justify it to their parents or something like, I'm trying, I want to pursue my dreams or whatever. So it's more like they're like trying to legitimize their fandom to their friends and family by going, I work as a comic book artist, but I see them and they come in and they're just kind of content with just being, at the studio. Like, oh, excuse me.
I feel singled out.
They don't really do what's needed. They're just kind of happy being, and they'll talk and they'll have a great time, but they don't really like ask like, how did you do that? What tool is this? They don't really care. And so I notice a lot of like retail, like comic book retailers are like that too, where they have collections, they open a shop, and to them, the be all end all is just that they don't really have to have a real job. They get to kind of sell comics and they get to buy comics and they get to read comics and they just get to be in that world, but they're not really business people. They're not really trying to make money. Their goal really is just, I'm able to make X amount, it pays my rent, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Because it legitimizes their fandom. They're making money, they can pay their rent. And I noticed that a lot of the industry has this kind of mindset where I think they're just fans. I mean, even Marvel, we were talking, I think Joe brought it up, that Marvel is like, you should be happy just drawing Spider-Man. We don't have to pay you good money. You should just be happy here doing this. And I think there is a big, not only just with professionals that draw these things, but with publishers, with retailers and everything. And I just wish that we could be more business minded. Think about the bottom line instead of going, I'm just in this to legitimize my fandom. I'm in this to make some real money. You know what I mean? Like I'm in this to make a really successful company or business or whatever. And Peter, do you notice that as well? Like, is that something you've seen?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I think that's kind of why comics are in the state they are right now. There's a weird pride in how defeatist most people are in comics. Even some people that make there's one particular creator right now. He's got an Indiegogo out, and it seems like he's not pushing it because he doesn't want to make too much money. I don't want to say who.
I think I know who you're talking about.
But it just seems like, even though he could probably, blow the barn door open if he actually went full tilt. It just seems like, okay, it did pretty good. It did better, way better than I thought it would have. And that's it. It just seems like that's even the mentality for the very top of comics. I think there's very few Todd McFarlanes left. There's very few people with the eye of the tiger and that fire in the belly. That killer instinct that you need to succeed. There's a lot more people out there that, either they are that level where they're doing well enough and that's fine. Or there's people that they kind of use their failure as like a badge of honor. I don't understand that. But that's the situation we're in right now with the whole industry.
It is bizarre. For me, looking at it from my point of view on the comic book industry, it's always been strange to me. And having these conversations over the past couple of years with all of you guys, it just becomes stranger and stranger to me because I've owned and operated a lot of business, and they do not operate comics like business at all.
Yeah,
and I don't get it. It's weird.
Oh, everyone in the chat, they got who I was talking about. It is Ethan. If Ethan just promoted more, he'd make $2 million.
Well, to your point, what you guys were, I was going to say, to your point, Art, and then Pete, I think we could kind of summarize it as there's almost a club mentality with a lot of comics professionals, whether it's the creators club or the retailers club or the readers club,
editors club. Yeah.
You know, sometimes you go to let's say you go to a convention and it's almost like a Venn diagram of the different circles representing the clubs are overlapping, and people are, yes, celebrating the art form, but a lot of it is backslapping and glad handing and essentially
and it's segmented off too.
Yeah,
and it always seems to circle around the genitalia as well. I don't know what that is.
Oh my god.
You know, there art. How great is it to be in this club sort of mentality?
I think the last time I circled around the genitalia, it was maybe when I was 14.
Oh yeah.
That's all you. That's all you draw around.
Right, that's right. Well, he said Venn diagram. I couldn't resist. You know.
Well, we're coming up on 3 hours, Art.
Okay. So I wanted to throw this out. I remember reading an article, and it was Frank Miller, and he talked about comics in the day, and they sold they sold thousands, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, actually, millions of copies. And so he was talking about that, and he said that, you know, the Comics Code Authority and all that stuff that came, you know, seduction of the innocent and all that stuff that happened after that, you know, all took place. The comics industry just put their tail between their legs and they became very, very humble. And they were very, very beat down. And you talk about a legacy that, I mean, it's part of our legacy now. I mean, it is so ingrained in the industry that it's insane how falsely humble everybody is. They're almost like expected to fail. Nobody really has any kind of business sense on how we can expand or how we can build. And one of my favorite things about, you know, Image Comics was those kind of conversations didn't happen. You know what I mean? We were like, the sky's the limit. And the best thing that's happening right now with Comicsgate and all, you know, hanging out with you guys and these conversations is it feels that way again. Nobody is really like beat down, and we're not all like, oh, well, I hope my book does okay and stuff like that. We're out talking. We're out meeting people. We're out connecting. We're, you know, we understand that if this is going to exist and this is going to succeed, it's going to be based on our marketing skills and how well we can convey these points to people. And I think it is the best thing that ever happened to comics. Pete, you've been fighting this battle a lot longer than most of us have. And I hope, like what I think, Pete, this is just like an aside, is, man, if you had a superstar or two, man, I think that's all that would take.
Oh man.
Like if you had either like a superstar or you had a title that just like was Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Man, everything would change for you overnight, man.
Yeah.
And everybody would have like, oh, I'll turn it, and then they go, it's an overnight success. You know,
I've had
an overnight success, 10 years in the making.
Yeah, I got a picture there. Art, bring it up.
Like that, yeah.
What could this picture be of a sexy girl? Oh,
yeah, baby,
boy.
Yellow fever in the house.
I have to apologize.
That is the strangest looking Italian I've ever seen.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what Chester does, man. Well, yeah, we should start wrapping it up. Do we all have a parting shot? Todd, you want to give a parting shot?
Yeah, it's the 6th of June in 10 days. Florida Man launches.
The 6th of June?
Today is the 6th. Well, right now it's the 6th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think it launches the 6th of June.
No, it launches in 10 days on the 12th. Okay. So and isn't that a Friday, I think? Oh my God. So we might be the launch party for, let me see.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Hey, let's get Mike Barron in here for that, dude. That'd be fun.
Is it? No, maybe I'm wrong. The 12th? Yeah.
The 16th? No, it's a Tuesday. But still.
The 12th. I keep saying, what are you guys here? Are you that old you can't hear?
No,
you said 10 days. That would be the 16th.
Noise cast. Today's the 6th, and in 10 days,
it'll be the 16th.
Yeah. I am right, Todd.
Yes.
I apologize for being
sorry.
right. Yeah.
The 12th, on the 12th, we launch.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
So we have some surprises in store. I keep bringing all kinds of ideas to this campaign that are just great. We have a great video. Chester will love the video because it's nobody's talking. It's voiced over. It's almost like I'll give you a little hint. It's almost like Dukes of Hazzard. Remember Dukes of Hazzard had a narrator.
Down.
What are the boys?
Merle Haggard, baby.
That's right, baby.
It wasn't Merle Haggard,
Just
by
a
the way.
good
It was
old-
Now
Waylon Jennings.
these two Duke boys are going
It's
to
going to
jump
be
this
quite
thing
like
over
that.
the courthouse.
So hopefully you guys, we'll get to talk about this next week, and we'll probably premiere that.
Okay. And that's Florida Man?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, do you have a pre-launch for that right now?
Yeah. Pre-launch.
All right. You could go there right now and sign up, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You certainly can. If someone, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
All right, Bob, the tired Bob. Bob's been burning the candle at both ends these days. So we're very thankful that Bob shows up to these.
I'm thankful I didn't pass out. But no, I want to thank everybody that was on here today, man. Graham Nolan was awesome. Pete, thanks for coming in and sharing your insight. Yeah. I got tomorrow about 9:00 over on Jimmy Ray's.
Please don't advertise a wrestling council. Jesus.
I'm going to do it now because you said that.
Get it, Bob.
No, tomorrow night, Jimmy Ray's channel, open mic for creators, fans,
awesome.
Artists. If you've got a project you want to push, if you've got art you want to show, bring it over there. We get sometimes we get some really cool industry professionals over there. Jimmy's been doing stuff for a long time. Nice. He's got 2 really cool books that are coming out: Veil of Night and Dragon's Rage.
They look great.
They look awesome, man. And that art. And the really cool thing was, just to talk about that for a second, the artist that's working on Veil of Night, he found through this open mic. His name's Joe Wills. Check him out. Dude's art is amazing. And that's the kind of synergy that they're trying to build over there. If you got a project, if you're an artist, if you're a writer, yeah, dude, bring it on over and show it off, man. That's what it's about building up the community. It's about showing off people and helping people find each other. And sometimes we get some really cool industry guys over there. Robert Marzullo, who's a really big YouTuber on here. He's been in the industry for a while. Dave Finch is a regular. He comes around. It's Clayton Barton and guys like that. So bring your stuff over there. That's happening tomorrow. And on Thursdays, we got the Wrestling Council over on
wrestling dies before comics.
Oh God!
You suck a toad in hell.
Yes,
but specifically the Wrestling Council this Sunday, we're watching in your house live, reacting to it. Come check us out over on Ikari Press or on the SMB Network. Screw you, Todd. I'm done.
Curse Todd to Lawrence Welk for life.
I heard there's a hostile takeover of his stocks, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, of WWE stocks.
Yeah, who knows, man? The guy's
Donald's doing it.
He's so old at this point, I don't think he cares.
All right, in order, we got Pete. Pete, you want to leave us with something?
Please don't mention.
Sure.
What was that? You can mention Rowdy, but no wrestling.
Rowdy Piper, great guy. He was in the chair too. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. The conversation was great. We need more conversations like this. Seriously, we really do. But thank you again for having me on. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys as well. Thank you guys for supporting Alterna, supporting me this whole time as well with all the crazy crap that I go through. Yeah. I'm trying not to go through as much of it and trying to ignore it so no one has to suffer through the stupidity that sometimes enters my Twitter feed. But thank you guys. And if you want to support Alterna some more, or you want to try us out for the very first time, visit alternaaccess.com. We've got mountains of awesomeness, and I know you guys are going to love it. So again, everybody here, thank you guys so much. And I love those hats. I love them, love them, love them. And
yeah, if you would send me a hat, I might well wear.
Or you could just buy them like everybody else.
Order them just like everyone else, and then I get to tell you how much I love the fact that you're wearing it.
All right, fine.
But thank you guys, really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, Joe.
Yeah, I'll just say, as far as the DC and Diamond news goes, I would keep an eye on a couple of things. One, if you patronize a local comic shop, I would check in with them, see how they're doing. They're going through a whole lot of difficulty between the Rona, the protesting and looting and rioting, and now with this DC news. Some of them I've already seen today. Some of them are panicking. Others are taking the attitude of, so my books come from a different warehouse. What do I care? I don't. But if you have a good relationship with your shop, I would just check in on them, see how they're doing, let them know how much you appreciate them being there. I want to thank Pete for coming on the show. It was a great time. And as a customer of Alterna for a while now, I just can't speak highly enough of the customer service and the products themselves. The comics are good. I've got kids that I have gotten hooked on Alterna comics now. I can't safely give them Marvel or DC comics like I would have gotten when I was their age because of the content and never knowing what you're going to get, between the covers of their comics. But I know that with the Alterna all ages books, I can give them to the kids. They enjoy them. I enjoy them. There's stuff that's, in the range of teen. There's mature readers only. They got all kinds of stuff. So can't speak highly enough of Alterna and of Pete himself. And just want to thank everybody for joining us this evening and hope everyone is going to have a great weekend.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it, man.
All right, Chester.
Didn't show any centerfolds the whole time.
I know, I was a good boy, but I have to say, what a great show today, dude. That was a really good conversation with Graham Nolan, a great conversation with Pete. I still think we should replace Todd with him. It'd be much better. No offense, Todd. But seriously, it's really nice to hear your opinions, Pete, and you're very knowledgeable on the topic, and we need more of that. But I really enjoyed today. I think it was a great show, and thank you guys for coming in here and being part of it and joining us. As far as my pitch, I guess, or promo, go to www.fanspeak.live and come over to Chester Busby on YouTube and see what we're doing. We're doing Alex Jones tomorrow on Tinfoil Talk, by the way. That might be fun.
It seems
but we do
doing Alex Jones all week.
Well, the riots came in, got in the way. But anyway, great show. Thanks for coming in, Pete. We appreciate you, and we love what you do, man.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and as far as what Joe was talking about with the comic shops, I think I'm pretty sure Golden Apple has is it GoFundMe?
Yeah.
And Heidi Ho. So if you guys want to help out, these were stores that were vandalized in the peaceful riots. And so I do believe that Golden Apple was supposed to open this week, but because of the peaceful riots, it was delayed. So if you guys just, do you have any of that information, Joe?
I can pull it up pretty quick.
Yeah, please, and maybe put it in the chat. So yeah, I know there's Heidi Ho, and I know that there's Golden Apple. Those are the ones I know about, but I'm sure there's other ones. And if you guys feel like you just put a couple bucks into their GoFundMe, I'm sure they'll appreciate it, and I'm sure they're going to put that money back into the shop, to get it ready to open. So there's that. And yes, and thank you guys, all the pontificators, for coming in. Thank you, Pete. It felt like it was two shows in one, man.
Yeah.
We had Graham Nolan. Thank you, Graham, for coming in and sharing your brilliant campaign. Is it, oh my gosh, what is it? It's, I can't say it. It's
Shinnou.
Shinnou.
It's not Cha. Yeah, Shinnou.
Shinnou.
It's Shinnou.
Yeah, I always want to say Shinnou. And it's up right now. He's about halfway through his campaign. It's up on Indiegogo. I think he's got 13 days left, and it's going really strong. And there's a killer 30K stretch goal where he's going to add some more pages. I think it's a whole new story. So that's going to be very cool. And as far as I I have a Indiegogo, in-demand chrono mechanics. So please go check that out. The link is in the description. We are going strong, and we are almost to our next stretch goal, which is 45K. So I think we're only like 800 away. So we should be able to get that soon. And that will be the embroidered Chrono Mechanics Team 9.2 of Sector 7 patch. And we're going to launch very, very soon. I just got the artwork back from the great Kyle Ritter, the color artwork, and we are going to do the black and white second chance pretty darn soon. So we still have the pre-launch page signups. So please go click the link down below, sign up, and you will get a free trading card, 25th anniversary black and white trading card done by the great Zach Bradley, who's usually here, but we're probably past his bedtime. So he's young. He needs to sleep. So yes, once again, thank you, everybody. Thanks to all the guests. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Graham Nolan. And thanks to everybody in the chat. Have a terrific weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Take care, all.
Holy shining Jesus monkeys.
Remember, Shinnou like shampoo, which only 3 of us need.